Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the final day of coverage from Summit Point Raceway in the 2026 Jefferson 500, presented by the Vintage Racer Group. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with Brian Donati and David Lance, and we want to thank you all for joining us here today at a not gloomy, but not bright and sunny Summit Point Raceway, where just before we went on air, the drizzle started coming down, perhaps picking up after how we finished the day yesterday, gentlemen. But here, real quick, just want to give everybody, as we get underway, and we've got our first group heading out for their pace lap right now. Let you see what we got coming up today. We've got 7 races here for you this morning. We're going to take you right up to lunch. Each of our races scheduled for around 20 minutes or thereabouts. And we're going to be giving you a lot of vintage racing action here today. Brian, as we here for the third day in a row at beautiful Summit Point Raceway, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, this track has a lot of ebb and flow. 2 miles, 10 turns. First race here back in 1969. And Greg, I think a lot of these cars were probably here in 1969.
Absolutely. Hey, a lot of people think I was here in 1969.
Yeah, so, again, the other thing, too, is we've got a lot of flow that goes through here. A lot of hard turns down in turn 1 and turn 5. The fastest corner on the racetrack is the chute. It does go downhill. That's where they're coming into right now. Then you got to get hard on the brakes. As you talked about, a little gloom, doom and gloom here. The clouds over the car. We did have a little bit of drizzle, so almost like we ended yesterday.
Hopefully not too much doom, by the way.
Guys are going to have to take a little bit easy here. And again, it's going to be hard to get some heat in those tires here, David, as we get ready to come out of turn 8. So, again, you got to get as much heat in there. I don't think they're going to be able to do it because the track's just that much damp. You got to be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be feel the track out a little bit, see how your car feels this morning, and then when you get into that rhythm after about 3 or 4 laps, then you'll be good to go. So real quick, we're going to go over some of the starting lineup while we're at it. Starting on pole, it's number 4, Tom Upshur in that 1962 Lotus 7. Starting at second, the number 11 of Hervey Park in a Ginetta G4. Starting third, number 82, Michael Orritt in another Ginetta G4. And starting in fourth, the number 7, Paul Stenson in the Lotus Super 7. Starting in fifth, it was going to be number 27, Kenny Williamson in an Elva Courier. And alongside him, the number 6 of Mark Goebel and another Elva Courier. Adolphe Badeferrano in the number 2 will be starting 7th. And a Lotus 7, Hank Giffen starting in 8th. And number 43, an Elva Courier, as we'll get through the rest of the field in a little bit as they come onto the front straightaway.
Yeah, well, we'll get through. We have, because I think the dampness and also the end of the weekend, a number of drivers did not make it out for this morning's race here, but had a great conversation with Hank Giffen last night about the coverage that we're providing and also about the racing all weekend long. Hank, a member of the driver committee here at Vintage Racer Group, as our drivers head down into turn 1 for the very first time today, our last race day here at the Jefferson 500, as all of our drivers appear to make it through clear and green on that opening turn, and heading down into turn 1, or probably into turn 3, Brian, for the very first time. Is that, I think, right at the front of the pack? Is that's
Tom Upshur in the 4. It looks like his transponder may not be picking up. It looks like it didn't click when he first took off there, but that is definitely Tom Upshur. Then you've got Kenny Williamson, then Hervey Park. So again, no Michael Orritt and no Paul Stinson, for this race. We know that Kenny Williamson's car, that's the widest car on the racetrack, as we've seen for 2 days now, Greg.
That's right.
Nobody's been able to get by him other than right now. It is Tom Upshur leading this group out of turn 5 and headed there. Nice little move there underneath Kenny Williamson by Hervey Park. I tell you what, David, that was a move that I don't think Kenny Williamson thought he was going to make, and he actually let him go there because I think it surprised him.
Yeah, definitely. Just kind of saw him pop around. Didn't really expect him, as you said. Just kind of let him go. Not fight it early on here still. I mean, this is probably going to be about 20-minute sprint race this morning. Still 17 minutes left. Early on, first lap, just kind of let that car go. We know Hervey Park has basically had a very quick car all weekend. He's been the only guy that's been somewhat close to Hervey Park.
Yeah. And I tell you what, I don't believe that Tom Upshur's transponder is picking up, because it did not pick up as he went by the start-finish line on that very first lap. So But Tom Upshur is your leader here. That is also your leader in that E production class. Harvey Park second, Kenny Williams third. Hank Giffen, I tell you what, that car has been pretty strong all weekend long, been up in that top 5 battle. Mark Gobble as well. Now throw in Henry Fry, then Dave McFarland. So again, some guys that are moving up a little bit here, gentlemen, that we didn't see earlier on this week. We've got a couple of our Spec Renaults there as well. William Silva in that 63. I talked about Dave McFarland. He's up to 7th overall, leading that Spec Renault. And I tell you what, so far, really good run by Dave McFarland.
Yeah, and there you go. There's McFarland now heading down the hill, but right behind, there we go, 2 in a row. William Silva and Felipe Benvenu, both nose to tail. They had been going down into turn 1, side pod to side pod, David, trying to I think, continue a battle that they had twice yesterday.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's third time is going to pick it back up again here. As looks like Benvenu is going to be right on the back end here of Silva as they come up. As they're going to be splitting one of I believe that's going to be the F production MGA. No,
it's actually the green Elva Courier of Drew Cullen that's right there with them.
All right, so they're going to split him though, as they were coming up the hill. But yeah, really good battle throughout the weekend. Felipe Benvenu, we've talked about him making his first start this weekend. Been really good so far, keeping the car clean. It's kind of what all you want, to take away from a race as much as you can, and at least keep the car clean.
So we had some of our Formula Vs did not take the green flag here again today. The only one so far that took it was Christopher Johnson. He's kind of right there, kind of tucked in underneath there, trying not to get any little spray there is.
We'll hold this shot for a little bit so we can pick him up. There he is, just ahead of a couple more of our Spec Renaults here in the field, just ahead of Paul Ma and Leon Silva. There is the white little beast there, and that is, again, a Cadwell D13 that Johnson is racing.
Yeah.
And area tucked in behind the MGA coupe there as they go into turn 3.
That MGA coupe almost has to have the mirrors turned downward on the side to be able to see him, because he can get up to him. Christopher Johnson can get up to him, but he can't get by John Johnson in that MGA coupe right there. So again, still a little bit damp in some spots. Again, we did have a little bit of sprinkle right before we came on air and right before these drivers took to the track. So a little bit dampness out there, but I don't think it's as bad or is definitely not as wet as it was yesterday. No. When we started to get towards the end of the day, especially when we had our Group 3 and Group 4 out there where the rain really came down and was really heavy.
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like probably most of that moisture will probably go away here once when we get a couple laps into this race, and the heat from these cars running on it are going to basically drive the track on its own. Just from the little spots that probably that it was from when it starts spitting a little bit, probably about 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, a little bit further. I tell you what, I'm looking down here, Greg, as we come down in. I know we're picking up that Formula V, but coming out of turn number 2 right now, I believe that is the Mark Gobble, Elva Courier, and then Hank Giffen.
Yes.
Right there, and I think a little bit further back, I don't know if in that white one, I don't know if that is Kenny Williamson. Did he drop back further there, or is he there? There's another white one in there, but I'm not seeing that on the screen. Did he drop back enough to where Mark Gobble was able to pick him up? Let's take a look at the next shot there.
Actually, I believe, Brian, and they're going to be coming into this next shot. That's the TR3.
Hang on to it.
Come back there. There we go.
Just kept it out of the wall.
Great job there by Felipe. I tell you what, got on the brakes, and that's where it really started to get away. He started to catch it with the front nose there, Greg, but then by the time he caught the front part of it with the steering wheel, the back part came around.
All right, so this is Mark Gobble just went through the screen in the light blue Elva Courier. Right. There he is. And then directly behind that is the white 61 Courier of
Kenny Williamson,
and then
so
Giffen.
He did fall back.
Yeah, he did.
Yep. Okay. We look at, again, Tom Upshur, he's sitting there in the back, his timing just now picking up. He is the leader. It's showing him a lap down, but trust me, he's not. Tom Upshur is the overall leader right now, so maybe he needed to flip a switch for his transponder. Didn't do it on that first lap, or they're hand scoring him right now. But he is definitely the leader, but Hervey Park is definitely catching him the last couple laps. Here's the battle just a little bit further back. This is actually Kenny Williamson and then Hank Giffen. So Giffen rolling right up to the back there. Kenny Williamson, as we come down here, again, Kenny Williamson was in third at one point and has dropped completely back into this field.
All right, let's see if we can pick up. Now, there is Tom Upshur, and here is, as we see now, Mark Gobble, who just reset fast lap of the session, running almost 2 full seconds, a little bit less than 2 seconds faster than Hervey Park that last time around. Definitely starting to close things down. Now, you know, a lot of the time yesterday, I mean, it was essentially Gobble and Giffen and Williamson that were fighting out for supremacy in the Elva Couriers as Upshur. It would check out on the field. But I think maybe with these slightly damp conditions, and these racers didn't have to race in the wet yesterday. So, I mean, definitely, I think here, David, the tables may have been turned just a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. As we can see the rain, it's still starting to spit again coming down, and, you know, you got to ask yourself with some of these drivers how you think, you know, you start seeing a little bit of that rain and a little bit of the moisture. What kind of is going through your head a little bit? Talked a little bit about it yesterday here. It's not as much as it was yesterday, but still, it could possibly affect the track a little bit.
Yeah. That oh crap moment when it starts. This is the time we talked about this yesterday, Greg.
Yeah.
You know, this is the part where you either wanted to do one of two things: either stop raining or rain.
Or rain harder. Yeah.
One of the two. Right,
right now, I mean, we are talking about what we have right now is less than a drizzle.
Correct.
And given that the temperatures are quite a bit, let me bring the timing up on the screen here. Given that the temperatures are quite a bit warmer here this morning than they have been the last 2 days, about 10 degrees warmer, and also you can really feel the humidity in the air. David, you know, this track is essentially a dry track. I mean, what's
absolutely.
coming down here is not going to affect these racers in the least.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just kind of even the littlest bit can the littlest bit of moisture mess with your mind, but I mean it doesn't really matter though here. Like we said, this is a pretty much just a little spit, nothing much. Track still got heat in it, so you're not gonna have to really factor in anything right now. Just keep running the race that you're running.
Yeah, I was gonna say, most definitely, right? I mean, it's just a matter of, you know, again, there's a lot of experience out here on this racetrack right now, so. You know, it gets to the point where that doesn't even come into your mind.
All right, and we do recognize that, again, in our timing and scoring that we're not showing Tom Upshur there at the top, and I believe he is likely being hand-scored by our timing team here with VRG. Want to, of course, thank Jeffrey Hutzelman, our chief of timing and scoring this weekend, who's had a very busy time in our tower here.
So I saw number 2, Bada Ferrano, in the Lotus 7. He moved up to 4th overall, got by Hank Giffen, so that puts him right now in 2nd in the E-Production. Mark Goebel, leading that class, set the overall fastest lap last time around in that 1959 Elva Courier in the blue machine, sitting in 3rd overall behind Hervey Park. There he is. Still got a 6-second gap over Park, but he's already right now about just a little over half a second faster than Park.
Well, he picks up on a lap and then he drops a lap. Then he picks up on a lap and then he drops a lap. So again, as you know, the rain is starting to get a little bit thicker here in certain spots. It's as Greg mentioned, it's not enough to do anything, but that car seems to be getting better and better. Every other lap. So. See, I don't think he's going to be able to run him down. Well, we've got just about 7 minutes to go, so we may want to make our first call to the grid for the next group.
Attention in the paddock. Attention the paddock. First call to the grid for race group number 6. Those are our sports racers. Please head to the grid. Race group 6, sports racers, please head to the grid. So, this is turning out to be a great little battle here. We checked in on them a little bit earlier over in Spec Renault, gentlemen here, between actually, this is a little bit further back. This is Leon Silva and Felipe Benvenu. Early on, Benvenu had been leading Silva. Silva has gotten around, and I think Paul Ma, who had some mechanical issues over the last 2 days, has now moved up to third in Spec Renault. But we want to thank the folks from the old shop for providing these machines to our racers here. Of course, we talked to Bill Stoller, vintage photographer. Well, he's not a vintage photographer, a photographer of vintage races. Let me put it that way.
Well, he may disagree with you there a little bit. He may say
as he's raced one of these cars, and I think as we talked yesterday with him, he very really speaks very highly of these chassis, which were introduced in the early 80s by the Sports Car Club of America and powered by the same four-cylinder engines that powered the Renault Encore and Alliance up until the point where Renault left the U.S. market, and then Ford filled the shoes. Many people have now, of course, heard of Spec Racer Fords, but these are the predecessors. Things are actually getting pretty tight now, as I think Benvenu and Leon Silva just found Dave McFarland, who's about to put him a lap down.
Well, Benvenu is a lap down because remember he had that spin down coming through the chute, so he is actually a full lap down.
Oh, that's right.
From these guys. But I tell you what, William Silva and Drew Cullen, William Silva in that in that Spec Renault, and then Drew Cullen in that Elva Courier. I tell you, they were Silva was up underneath the rear bumper of that Courier at one point. He just now got around him as they're now down into turn number one. And into turn number two, and I tell you what a move by Silva as they came off of turn 10. Because like I said, the last lap he was up on that front end of that Spec Renault was up underneath the bumper of Drew Cullen.
Lift up the rear wheels on that Courier. I was also David just watching the continued fight that we have between our Formula V racer in the Cadwell. And actually, I'm going to sit here because they're going to be coming into our view momentarily in the Cadwell, and then the MGA Coupe. And at the bottom portion of the course here, this is where the Formula V always has the advantage over that MGA. We see now as Chris Johnson gets around John Johnson, but then when they get up to turn 10. The tables are turned, and the MGA once again just kind of powers past. We'll see if he has the opportunity to do it here. He's actually fallen a little bit further back now on this lap and the things are not nearly as close as they've been for the previous 9 laps.
Yeah, it definitely shows you where Formula V and a Courier are have their better strong suits in these areas with the MGA, excuse me. Then with that Formula V, though, lower horsepower output, able to keep up the momentum a lot better through that carousel section. And we saw that MG where it basically you have to throw it around the corners, you have to chuck it around and go so wide through a turn 7, as we see now. It's going to get the pass on Christopher Johnson going down turn number 1. As you said, Greg, use the legs down the straightaway and caught the Formula V.
I tell you what, he ended up making that pass relatively easy. I'm not sure if Christopher Johnson really backed out of it a lot going down into turn number 1, halfway just past the start-finish line and just past our cutouts because I tell you what, John Johnson, he kind of went by him like it was pretty much standing by.
Yeah, but he goes and he follows it up right here again as he for the second lap in a row. I definitely think the Formula V may be getting a little bit harder on the brakes than you would typically do going into turn 1 with the V, where essentially you want to be able to keep the momentum up, scrub off as little speed as possible. It's usually a light brush on the brakes to turn in and get the nose set for turn 1, and I think he's getting in a little bit deeper. But he's also, I think these two are having a lot of fun playing with each other, and and they're not going to make it difficult for one, especially if the track maybe does have a little bit more or a little bit less grip right now than it typically has. You know, they're going to leave the door open and not really contest these passes.
No, absolutely.
As they have now also made their way up, Drew Cullen in the Elva Courier now directly ahead of them.
Well, Greg, I tell you what, we're going to have a little bit of confusion here because Tom Upshur, with being hand scored right now, they're just now giving the 1 to go board to Hervey Park.
Right.
But technically, Tom Upshur is the overall leader. So he's going to be a little bit of a challenge here when we get to the end of this race because, again, Hervey Park is getting his last lap, which means Tom Upshur is going to end up
getting an extra
one
lap.
extra lap. And I don't believe, he never came down pit lane. And again, I think he's, as we talked about, being hand scored. So the actual leader really is Tom Upshur, who is just now coming up out of turn 3, heading down into this shot here in a minute. So.
Yeah, we'll see here. Actually, should be coming down into turn 5 now, right behind that shot. So, Brian, let me make another call to the grid for the next group. Attention in the paddocks. Final call for race group number 6, Sports Racers. Please head to the grid. Sports Racers, please head to the grid. Your race is next. So we'll know in just a moment here because right behind this group is Tom Upshur. He is actually your leader on track. And again, we've had some issues with the timing and scoring with him. We think that he's probably going to get an extra lap as Hervey Park right here is going to probably be the first one to take the checkered flag. And so let's watch here as they come on to the front straight.
Yeah, so there's definitely some confusion here. So it looked like there was a call that came in that said the 4 is the leader, and that was denied. So Hervey Park, I guess, technically right now is officially the winner as he's going to cross the start-finish line, take the checker.
And I think that's fully in line, David, with everything that the Jefferson 500 is. And, this is our racers enjoying their equipment. And, hey, if Tom Upshur can get an extra lap behind the wheel of that Lola 7, I'll bet you he's all for it, whether he's racing for anything special or not. And there are no podium ceremonies here in the Jefferson 500. This is all just a great way for racers to enjoy the machines and keeping the history of these motor cars alive. As Tom Upshur is now going to be working his last lap, and he works through that field that we've been watching there with Drew Cullen, John Johnson, and Chris Johnson.
Yeah, just see here they come into the shot and they carousel. It's going to be the 60 of Drew Cullen right now, but here comes Tom Upshur now going to be in between Cullen and that Formula V of Christopher Johnson, and it looks like the Upshur is going to get through this field, but I'm sure just having a little bit of fun overall. Again, like you said, pretty much today is just a kind of a fun, relaxing day. Bring the car out, have a little bit of fun. It's been a long weekend, so just end the weekend with end the weekend off well. As it looks like Upshur now comes off at turn number 10 down the front straightaway. He will take the checkered flag 1 lap later.
Finally.
He will be was the overall race winner, though Hervey Park saw the checker flag first, but he will finish in second. And Mark Gobble now, number 59, he'll finish in third overall.
All right, as our winner heads down the pit lane, and all of our other drivers as well, as after a race well run and their final race of the weekend here at the Jefferson 500. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back here in just a few moments with our next race. It's the Sports Racers here at Summit Point Raceway. Stay with us.
My name is Cameron McGuire. I'm from Monterey, California. I got into cars because I grew up around them. I grew up around a major Concours event and seeing all the people that would come together over such a simple creation, yet so complex. It's always intrigued me, and I've always liked seeing people get excited over those things. My interest in cars has kind of formed my career path because I've always been mechanically inclined and enjoyed using my hands. And my second passion is people, and I've seen cars as a tool to bring people together and help them learn and enjoy. I hope that one day my job can be owning a museum, that I could run a museum and research center that helps people of all interest levels dive deeper into vintage cars. The Piston Foundation has helped me kind of get started with this career path by providing the funds that help me get through this college. It's an expensive private institution, and so it costs more than most people are able to afford, but because of the Piston Foundation, I can continue to follow my dreams.
Willing and Able Racing offers top-quality spec race car rentals with full setup and repair services, including trackside support for SCCA, NASA, VRG, and other organizations' road race, time trials, and track day events. Their spec racer Ford specialists and each of their Gen 3 machines sports a SATAV sequential transmission and a data acquisition system. Also offering spec Miata rentals, Willing and Able is currently taking reservations for the remainder of the Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series season. For more information, email Willing and Able at rent@WNARacing.com, see them on Instagram at WNA Racing, or visit their website at WNARacing.com. Willing and Able would like to thank all the volunteers this weekend who've graciously donated their time so that we may race.
Looking to level up your motorsport game? At Courage Motorsport, we've got everything you need, from high-performance parts and racing equipment to expert driving instruction and even our own Courage racing gear. Whether you're a beginner, a pro, or looking to kickstart your motorsport career with training in both the business of racing and securing sponsorships, we've got you covered. Check out our gear, grab a shirt, and represent your passion. Email us at trackready@couragemotorsport.com or visit couragemotorsport.com and get ready to hit the track.
Welcome back to Summit Point Raceway in the 2026 Jefferson 500, presented by the Vintage Racer Group. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with Brian Donati and David Lance, and we're going to have special guests joining us once again. Peter Krause here with us in just a moment. But as our racers, our sports racers, are about ready to hit the track for their final race of the day, let's run down the starting order. Scheduled to start on pole today in his A-Spec racer, A-Sports racer, Lola 290, Joe Blacker. Ben Sinnott, scheduled to start on the outside of the front row, the first of our Sports 2000s racers in his 1991 Lola T9091. Then we got Mark Clark Also, now in a Swift DB5, he's scheduled to start on the inside of row number 2. Starting in 4th position, Greg Miller in a 1985 Swift DB2 with Steve Conson Sr. scheduled to start 5th. He's in also a 1985 Swift DB2. Gavin Clark starting in 6th today on the outside of row number 3. He's driving the number 85 1987 Swift DB2 with Garrett Wilson starting on the inside of row number 4, starting 7th today. He's driving the number 131 Vintage Racing Services Lola T598. Then we've got Joe Blacker starting in 8th position. He's in his Bratham BT8. That's a 1964 edition with Christopher Vitale. The first of our Formula RCCA racers in a Van Diemen. That's a Formula Ford. He starts 9th with Scott Gerber in a 1991 Van Diemen RF91. He'll start 10th. Oscar Pacheco, also in a Van Diemen, will start 11th today with Steve Lefferts in his Taiga SC84, starting on the outside of row number 6. Then we've got Theodore Klaus in the Ron Whitney Enterprises 1978 Wheeler. He's going to start lucky 13th today with Jeff Taplesee in his Lotus 23B. That's the, remember, I just say it, I don't write it, in the Jagoff Racing entry. Now we got Daryl Kepler. He starts 15th today. He's in the number 77 Covered Bridge Capital Swift DB1 with Joey Bojalot starting 16th. He's in the number 44 Elva Mark 7 with Mike Kennedy starting 17th. He's driving the number 5 Lotus 23R. That's the Auto Group Racing Service entry. Mike Conklin in the Lone Wolf Motorsports 1984 Citation Formula Ford. He will start 18th with Darren Mann in a Lotus 23B, a 1962 edition, starting in 19th position. Rounding out the top 20, and the first of our scheduled to be here in Spec Renault. Of course, we had a number of them in the last group. Dave McFarland, and it looks like they have moved over from group 6 to group 5, so we just had them a few moments ago. Don't want to leave out, though, Robert Anderson in his Vitesse Sports Racer. He should be starting then, scheduled to start in 20th position. So as we get ready to get underway here, let's welcome back, a great time with him joining us yesterday, Peter Kraus, noted driver coach. And of course, you want to find out more about Peter, you can go to gofasternow.com. Good morning, Peter. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Greg. We're really enjoying the racing this week and weekend at the VRG Jefferson 500. I've been fortunate enough to attend this event since the inaugural event in 1992. And it is just a spectacular weekend of a wide variety of racing as our field heads through turn 10 and on to the main straight in preparation for receiving the green flag.
Yeah, we saw a really good race here. And again, if you weren't with us yesterday, you'll find out who Peter's favorite driver is here momentarily. But I tell you what a race we had yesterday between Ben Sennett and Joe Blacker in that 51 and that 290. We'll see whether or not we get that same exact scenario. We ended up with, a couple things happening there at the end that we'll get to here, Peter. But I tell you what, Joe Blacker, again, getting shot out of a cannon there. But Ben not going to go away too quickly, was able to get down deeper. We noticed this yesterday. We'll let you talk about it. Able to get right on that back gearbox of Joe Blacker.
Okay, they're neck and neck going into turn 3, and Ben Sennett is going to sweep around the outside of Joe Blacker, and he's going to do so early enough in the lap to be able to pull out some significant space. One of the secret weapons of the leader, Ben Sennett, is his startling speed on the opening lap, getting the slick tire up to temperature and get some grip as he flies into and through the carousel, leading on to basically the longest straight of the track. Turn 6, which is the slowest corner of the track, is ironically the beginning of the longest straight as Ben Sennett starts stretching it out through turn 8 and turn 9 as he comes up to the bridge. It's very possible that the nearly double the horsepower orange Lola T290 with 285 Cosworth BDG horsepower will not be able to pick up the 150 horsepower single stick Pinto engine with a single 2-barrel carburetor as they go down. This is truly a David versus Goliath race with each car exhibiting strong benefits in different areas of the course. Now we have a great battle for third as Mark Clark takes Greg Miller into turn one. And Greg Miller is a wonderful guy. He is a university professor. He is one of the fastest Morgan drivers in the country. As he takes that position back from Mark Clark, they're side by side going into turn three, and Mark just toughs it out. A former Fortune 500 CEO, Corning Glass in New York near Watkins Glen, and a great supporter of the sport.
Yeah, I was going to say, Peter, he mentioned that the way he got into racing originally was, and because he lived up in the Finger Lakes area up there, watched a race in the early 70s at the Glen and decided he needed to go racing. And of course, this beautiful Swift DB5 that he's racing, he purchased it now back in 2019, and of course, he's saying that the DB5 is essentially, I guess, an updated version of the DB2, some updated aero, of course, and slightly improved suspension. Can you talk maybe a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So again, Sports 2000, which is comprises a lion's share of this particular field. Sports 2000 was designed as a spec series. These engines were highly restricted. They offered very equal competition. Nobody could outpower each other. Nobody could out drag anybody else. So it was a question of who slows less, just like Formula Ford.
And sorry, Peter, we got one car that just gone off down towards the skin pad, was already very far driver's right. I believe that's Mike Conklin. Is that Mike Conklin that went off? I don't believe that.
I don't think so.
That was him. I think that's Garrett Wilson in the 131 that went off. He went down. He's just now getting ready to come back. I believe that is Garrett Wilson in that 131. So looks like the brakes may not have worked. Went down to the skid pad, turned around, and came back. We'll get that number, but go ahead.
Well, it's certainly interesting because the track surface is a little bit compromised. We can tell that by looking at the lap times. A lot of these drivers are metronomic in their accuracy and their repeatability, and we're seeing Ben Sinnott, who is normally metronomic in the 115, 116 range, turning a fast lap of 118.8 right now, 118.9, and Joe Blacker in the 19. So it's clear that the track is somewhat compromised. Mark Clark a little bit further back, doing 118 now, so that's as fast as he went yesterday. So people are gradually feeling the track out. It looks like Steve Conson is coming up on the back of Greg Miller as they go into turn one. So we do have races throughout the field. It's kind of nice.
All right, we did just get confirmation. That was Garrett Wilson.
Yep.
In his Lola T598. Had some challenges there, Peter, breaking down into turn one. He's got the car back underway after a ride out towards behind the wall over by the skid pad.
Well,
maybe get a little handling practice out there.
It was kind of odd because he was all the way over far driver's right, and luckily there was nobody there next to him. He was very far driver's right, really slowed down just past that cutout, and then all of a sudden made the sharp left-hand turn as he went to enter in turn one, went to the left instead of the right. And that's why we call it a right-hand turn one. He went left, went around, and came back out. So that car probably not getting slowed down enough for braking, or thought he had a problem, was able to get it rectified and back out on the racetrack.
Yeah, and I believe I just saw Gavin Clark in his Swift DB2 take his car back to the paddock.
Okay, so Ben Sinnott is now encountering lap traffic, passing the beautiful Formula B car, the Brabham BT21, going into turn one, and going to pick up Mark Conklin in the citation shortly as he sweeps around on the inside of turn two, heading up towards turn three. Now, Ben Sinnott now has the full length of the straightaway between turn three and the exit of turn two, and now Mark Clark is knocking on the back door of Joe Blacker. I'll tell you, Mark has really stepped up his game. He has just started a wonderful series of written articles on his adventures going racing in his LinkedIn page.
Oh, really?
Which I have been really enjoying.
Now I'm going to have to go and find it and put it in the chat.
It's pretty cool. It's really a lot of fun because he has a very analytical Mark Clark has a very analytical approach to this. He again is a consummate data hound. reviewing his performance every time. We've got Joe sweeping around, Joe Blacker sweeping around the outside of the Formula B car back in the S's. Mark Clark sweeping his way through. He has just tied a rope to the back of Joe Blacker and is being towed around. This is a really, really good battle for second.
Yep, and now Blacker's pulling off. So Blacker had a problem there because he just pulled off into the pit. So
well, that's too bad because that really deprives us of a great battle.
Correct.
Going on right there. I feel bad for Joe, but Joe has been just a wonderful supporter of the sport. He brings out the most extraordinary cars. You can find him under the Eric Langbine Racing tent at any given weekend here at Summit Point. So a lot of fun. Sorry to see Joe pull out. He may be I don't know whether he's going back into the paddock.
I haven't seen him made the right-hand turn. We've got the pit-out tub there that's kind of in our way. He's right behind that. I did see somebody walk over to it, but it was kind of an abrupt, that abrupt right-hand turn as soon as he got past those, the Brabham and coming up on that citation. So as they came up the hill. It was kind of an abrupt, so something just wasn't right and thought better of it rather than taking it around another lap.
So meanwhile, back on track, we have Garrett Wilson, who took that off-course excursion down the escape road into turn 1 towards the skid pad, turn around, come back on. He's now refocused and has his eyes on Steve Lefferts as they enter turn 3. This is really good because Garrett's been racing for a couple of years. I've really enjoyed working with him both here and at Lime Rock Park. And Steve Lefferts, this is his first ever race weekend of any kind.
Oh, my gosh.
In this Taiga SC84. He's never driven a purpose-built race car before, never raced on a road racing course before this weekend. And he and Garrett heading into and through the carousel right now, a mixture of some experience with absolute rank novice, and they are right together on the racetrack.
And we saw Steve yesterday have that problem in turn 10 at the end of yesterday's race. There. So to be able to come out and now you're going to see there Garrett Wilson going around kind of the outside. And I think that may have been Steve Lefferts just saying, you know what, go ahead and go. You're putting the pressure on me. I need to get through the weekend. No sense in racing that much more.
Don't want his first weekend to be his last weekend.
Sure, correct.
You try to ease yourself into these things. And
well, now it's very interesting, though, because now that Garrett has gone by Steve, they're headed down linked together going down into turn 1, and what's going to happen is Steve Lefferts is going to go to school on Garrett Wilson.
Yeah. So I was going to say, usually what happens, and again, because I know I've done this as well, and Greg has done it as well from racing. When you get somebody that puts you that pressure, that has maybe a little bit more experience than you, it's okay to go down and follow them for a little while to see kind of what they're doing versus what you're doing and what you've been told, and how are they much faster. And you that's how you gain the experience, and that's how you end up gaining additional positions throughout your racing career. I mean, that's always the best thing to do.
Well, Steve Lefferts is going to get the best lesson in the house as Ben Sinnott sweeps by. Driver's right going
watch
through the chute. Watch him. Garrett's good, but Ben is better. And there's a lot to be said for that. Ben is clicked in, and Ben just turned a fast lap of 16.3. Which is close to the quickest lap that he has done so far in competition this weekend. He went a little bit quicker in the qualifying Friday morning, but the track has been off slightly. This weekend. We have a large collection of cars.
Many different types of tires with different rubber
being
put down. Yeah, I think Sinnott came into this morning with a 15.3 or thereabouts, Peter.
Yep, and the issue is we also have a lot of little British cars that like to mark their territory, both in the paddock and on the racetrack. I can say that as an Italian car racer.
That's right.
We have a mortal combat with the...
I was going to say, for a Fiat X19 driver, it sounded like nothing but love as you were referring to those little British cars.
Well, I feel so bad. I was really psyched to run in the Lola Cup this weekend. We had 3 guys in the Lola Cup or in the 28s. I myself have done a 28-1 here. So we really actually would have had an absolute dogfight in Lola Cup, but that's okay. I'm having fun living vicariously through others. I am struck by the extraordinary precision of Ben Sinnott. If you look at the black number 51 car, the Lola T9190, notice how absolutely inch perfect his car positioning is. And I think it's important for everybody to realize that in order to commit to the level of throttle and brake that he is doing and rolling the speed through the corners, you know, a foot or even 6 inches on the inside is 2 feet on the outside.
Right. Yep.
And that translates to, you know, it could be a half a tenth or it could be a tenth on one corner, another half a tenth on another, and it all compounds over the course of a lap time, and that's why you see him running, you know, for example, another 2 seconds faster than the other Sports 2000s out.
Tell you what, as we get down to that 6.5 minute mark, Greg, why don't we go ahead and make that first call to the grid for our next group?
Attention in the paddock, Formula Ford racers, race group number 7. You start coming to the grid. Race group 7, our Formula Ford drivers. Your final race of the weekend is next.
And you know, Peter, you know, one of the things we talked about yesterday was obviously about the data and going through not only the video but looking at that data as well. And this is a product of Ben being able to pick that up and understanding that and going through all of that, which some of the younger drivers are really starting to do as well, right? So that is a huge product to know that inch here, that inch there, 100 feet here equals 200 feet over there. That's exactly why data is very, very important in today's technology and in these cars.
Yeah, and I think that people are quite naturally, especially those of us who are getting older, there is a barrier to entry or a perceived barrier to entry to the modern technology that provides this information. But honestly, data can be distilled into just a few simple things. And if you look at just a few simple measures like speed versus distance and the forces acting on the car, you can really make a big difference just by the way the traces look or how they are related to where you are on the racetrack.
Yep. Yeah, whether it's opening up the wheel just a tiny little bit more, not binding up the front suspension, whether it be, you know, easing back into the throttle at a slightly higher rate or the rate at which you release the brakes. There's so many different factors at play that can, you know, that can affect over many times over the course of a lap.
Well, Greg, I will send a tidbit out to all of those competitors in the paddock in the fact that the amount, the percentage of the lap that is taken at 90% throttle or above has a direct relationship to the lap time. So if you have a situation where you can do a short burst of 100% throttle between the exit of turn 5 and the entry of turn 6 here at Summit Point Raceway, that can be between 0.3 and 0.5 of a difference.
Yep.
And part of the reason for that is because that is the slowest area of the course, thus takes the longest time to traverse. So anything you can do to shorten that makes proportionately a much bigger difference. And you wouldn't know that if you didn't look at the data.
Correct.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And for all of you watching and listening at home that are going to be coming out for the VRG Turkey Bowl or for any of the other organizations that race here, this is something that translates not just from to sports racers, but to any type of car that you will have out on Summit Point, or think of it at other tracks around the country. I guess, Peter, at VIR, your home track, what would you say would be an equivalent there? Maybe turn 4 to turn 5.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you hit the nail right on the head. The slowest section traversing, slowest complex of corners, not more than one corner linked together, are the areas where people really need to focus the most on. So 4A, which is the tight left, 4B, the tight right, and then 5, which is a sweeper right, onto the bridge straight at VIR is an ideal place to mine for time. As Ben Sinnott flashes across the start-finish line, Ben just turned a 16.6. If you look at the tight grouping of fast lap times that he's able to do, what that indicates is that he's doing exactly the same thing at exactly the same point on the circuit every lap.
Single time.
We did have actually a fairly close battle between Greg Miller and Steve Conson, but I think Steve might have had a little bobble, and that interval grew just slightly. But Garrett Wilson is on a tear, and he's doing his best to claw his way back up to 4th. Steve Leffert, consistency pays the bills, and he is now in 6th overall with Mike Conklin in the orange citation 7th. that Formula B car, that car number 21, is still, in my mind, one of the prettiest open-wheel cars here
absolutely.
this weekend.
Let's see if we can locate him on track. I think
The darker green.
yeah, it's a dark.
Is that him going down into turn 1 now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there it is.
Right there.
As Ben Sinnott flashes across the line at a 16.5. So, again, less than a tenth difference from the last lap. And he doesn't have any pressure, nobody around him, but yet he is racing himself.
Correct. I was going to say, you know, when you're not out there with really anybody and there's no pressure on you, it's about racing yourself, and it's about, you know, trying to, as you just talked about, really, the exit of 5 into the entry into 6, that short. How can I get better? And that's one of the places you kind of work on.
Well,
every single time.
The beautiful thing is this stream lives in perpetuity on YouTube. So I am gonna send a link to this race.
I was going to say we'll clip that and clip some of your advice here to set.
You know, it is just amazing because if I were to tell people, so I did a track walk Friday night and up. Just when I say that, Ben slips wide in turn 7. But I better shut the hell up. But anyway, I mean, what people need to know is people need to know where they're going and what they're going to do when they get there. So that is the purpose. And here we go.
Should be
All right,
getting
real
the
quick,
one to
Peter,
go.
as I believe Ben Sinnott now working his final lap. Let me make a final call to the grid for our next run group. Attention in the paddock. Final call for race group 7, Formula Ford racers. Please head to the grid. Race group number 7, Formula Ford. Please head to the grid.
And you know, Peter, just real quick, sitting here looking at timing, right? So 1:16.5 on that lap with that little bit of a slip. That could have been his best lap of the day. Had that not little slip happened there, could have picked him up into that one, probably into that 1:16.1, maybe 1:16.2.
Well, I like to think, you know, I like to help people understand that a lap time is too big a single measure to judge the quality of everything in the car that the driver is doing. By improving the quality and the execution of every individual skill execution, drivers can go faster with less risk. So don't get so fixated on a lap time that you're chasing that lap time. But instead, focus on doing the best you can with every individual pedal and steering input.
Coming now into turn number 10 now, coming out of turn number 10. And we'll see kind of here, Ben Sinnott going to pick up another win this weekend in here in our in our S2 category, Greg. So another good run.
Excellent run for Ben as the rest of our racers now, well, a little bit behind him on track. We've got a great pack here coming through the final, coming through and down through the chute right now. Got Greg Miller, we've got Steve Conson, and also Garrett Wilson as well. As they work their final laps and come on to the front straight to take the checkered flag. And as they do, let's run down the final order here. Over in S2000, it is Ben Sinnott with Mark Clark finishing second. Over in the the HS2 class, Garrett Wilson and Steve Lefferts. And great first race for Mr. Lefferts there in his Taiga, and in Vintage S2, Greg Miller and Steve Conson with Gavin Clark finishing in third. And then finally, of course, we had Joe Blacker in his A Sports Racer as well today. All right, so that's going to wrap things up for our sports racers here at the Jefferson 500. Peter, I want to thank you once again for joining us. If they want to find out about your coaching services and your driving methodology, where can they find you?
So I am available to be contacted through www.peterkraus.net and also www.gofasternow.com. I work in concert with Ross Bentley at Speed Secrets, and we offer quite a few online learning seminars as well as virtual track walks available at the speedsecrets.com website.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us once again, and hopefully we're going to see that beautiful X19 back out on track with you behind the wheel soon.
Well, thank you, Greg. Thank you, Brian. Always enjoy the stream, and it's a real treat and a real pleasure to be in the booth with you.
Excellent. All right. Thanks so much. And next up, it's going to be the Formula Fords here for their final race of the weekend at the Jefferson 500. Stay with us.
My name is Tara Feeney, and I'm from Scottsdale, Arizona. So I first got into cars because I kind of grew up in a car family. My grandpa was a car collector, so I grew up around classic cars. And then I just figured out that that's what I loved, it's what I was passionate about, so I stuck with it. So I wanted to work on classic cars as a career after doing it in high school and realizing that I was super happy at that job and super fulfilled, and I just was passionate about keeping history on the road. I would love to be an engine technician, and my hope one day is to open my own shop. The Piston Foundation has helped me by allowing me to focus on college instead of worrying about my finances and has been instrumental in my success.
Willing and Able Racing offers top-quality spec race car rentals with full setup and repair services, including trackside support for SCCA, NASA, VRG, and other organizations' road race, time trials, and track day events. They're spec racer Ford specialists, and each of their Gen 3 machines sports a SATAV sequential transmission and a data acquisition system. Also offering spec Miata rentals, Willing and Able is currently taking reservations for the remainder of the Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series season. For more information, email Willing and Able at rent@WNARacing.com, see them on Instagram at WNA Racing, or visit their website at WNARacing.com. Willing and Able would like to thank all the volunteers this weekend who've graciously donated their time so that we may race.
Looking to level up your motorsport game? At Courage Motorsport, we've got everything you need, from high-performance parts and racing equipment to expert driving instruction and even our own Courage racing gear. Whether you're a beginner, a pro, or looking to kickstart your motorsport career with training in both the business of racing and securing sponsorships, we've got you covered. Check out our gear, grab a shirt, and represent your passion. Email us at trackready@couragemotorsport.com or visit couragemotorsport.com and get ready to hit the track.
It is the Jefferson 500 here at Summit Point Raceway, presented by the Vintage Racer Group. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with Brian Donati and David Lance. And we've got a couple more special guests joining us here in the booth. We'll bring them in just a moment. But next up, it's the final Formula Ford race of the weekend. Let's run down the starting order. And again, we don't think all of these racers are going to be coming out for this final race, but hopefully majority will. Starting on pole today in the Grand Prix Legends Thompson Royale 24, Jake King, with Dave Handy starting on the outside of the front row in his Sasco-sponsored 1978 Crossley 32F. Joe Griffin will start third today in a 1970 Crossley 16F with Patrick Flynn in the first of our Van Diemen RF81s starting in fourth. Brandon Weber also in an RF81 will start fifth today with Joey Selmans in a VD RF81 starting in sixth. Robert Dusek in his Winkleman WDF2 1970 edition. He's going to start seventh today. And then we've got Wayne Nicolette in his RAC Engines Exhibits.net Lola T340. He'll start eighth. Doug Mice will start in ninth position. He's also in a Lola T340 with Eric Langbein in the Brad Peace Racing Development Merlin Mark 1. He will start 10th. Scott Fairchild in his Zinc Z10 will start 11th, also in his Z10. Well, he's not here on track right now starting in 12th because he's sitting right over my shoulder. Leon Hodges Austin. Then we've got Frank Del Vecchio. He is behind the wheel today, and appropriately enough, lucky 13. He's in the Del Vecchio Racing Van Diemen RF81. Starting 14th, Sam Ryan in his Crossley 45F. Then we've got Matthew Barber in his Macon MR7B with Stephen Vappa starting 16th, also in an MR7B. That's his teammate. Then we've got George Houtz. George is in a 1983 Reynard. He'll start 17th with Ira Nesbitt scheduled to start 18th in the 555 Power Slide Motorsports Wind Shadow. Then we got Dave Gott. He starts 19th today. He's in the A&R Racing Van Diemen. That's a Van Diemen RF81. He'll start 19th with Mark Clark in a Crossley 32F starting in 20th. Tim Nichols will start 21st in his Hawk DL17 with Mark Ngaro in a Royale RP31 starting 22nd. Then we've got Steve Beeler in a Lola T540 starting 23rd with Emily Ryan. Great runs yesterday from Emily. She's in the 1981 Crossley 45F. She'll start 24th. Dave Fairchild in a Zinc Z10 starts 25th. And then John Vidovich in the Reardon Solutions Reynard RF82 starting 26th. As the pace car now heads to the pit lane, turning the field over to Jake King and Dave Handy, looking to continue this battle that they've had all weekend long. They come onto the front straight. The starter looks over the field, and green flag is in the air, and we are racing once again here at Summit Point as our racers head down into turn one, Brian.
I tell you what, Greg, we're going to go 2 wide at the beginning, but then we're going to go 3-4 wide as the rain is starting to come down again. It looks like everybody's going to get through turn number 1, but we were almost 3 wide right there in the middle of that pack. We've got some stragglers coming from the start back a little bit further, and I think that is because of the product of the rain that is starting to happen here down into turn 1 and through turn 2 and 3.
All right, well, Brian, as this race gets underway, we want to welcome 2 special guests back to us, and seeing that Frank Del Vecchio is behind the wheel, he's not here joining us, but we have once again Denny Austin in the chair, and we also have today, because he's not out on track, we got Leon Hodges Austin. Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome. Good to be back.
How's it going?
There we go. And Leon, I know you said that you were hurting a little bit today, and I know you had some challenges behind the wheel yesterday. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, all things considered. It's been a long week for me. I've been here since Tuesday.
And I assume, and obviously a lot of that, we've had the driver's school and followed in Dad's footsteps here, and really holding up the mantle there for VRG and bringing new racers into the sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
Baron Weber managed to pull off a pass going into the turn 1, turn 2 area earlier, but he's being now overtaken by it looks like Jake King and Dave Handy. That could be an interesting three-way race up at the front.
Well, you know what, guys? I'm seeing here now. I don't know if we're having a problem with timing and scoring today or not. This is the second car. Brandon Weber was not scored going by the start-finish line that time. But I can tell you right now that Brandon Weber is putting on a fight right here with Jake King coming out of turn 2 as the rain starts to get a little bit harder. Going up into turn 3, they may go side by side right through here, Denny. And I tell you what, Brandon Weber is on game right now early on because he has now overtaken the lead over Jake King.
Now, there could be a problem with this transponder, possibly. It's hard to say.
So for these cars, Leon, I mean, typically we're not going to see a wet weather tire and a dry weather tire, or is there a specific rubber that these drivers may have shod their cars with because of these conditions?
Under most conditions, no. Everybody's going to be running the same tires they run in the dry. The biggest changes will be some people will be disconnecting their roll bar or the anti-roll bars and go soft and go light.
As they come out underneath the bridge right now, again, Brandon Weber still leading over Jake King. Dave Handy, who was battling all day yesterday, Denny, kind of out on an island by himself. And then you've got a little bit further back, you've got Wayne Nicolette and Robert Dusek third in that 22 and that 2 battling. So again, Dave Handy out there by himself right now.
Dave Handy showed an insane ability to catch up on Jake King yesterday, so good for him. We'll see how that plays out in the rest of the day.
I was going to say, don't count Dave Andy out yet. He's got a beast of a machine under his.
All right, and see here, we do have a local caution here down now at turn 1 as we had a car that...
It's Ira Nesbitt right there in that 555. I'm also hearing, Greg, real quick, that we had the 61 machine of Clifford Townsend kind of going off into turn 3 and possibly some contact with the tire wall. We'll see if that may be him coming in down on pit road there. So,
and we also
and guys, we've got Dave Handy, so it is definitely getting wet out there. Dave Handy is now over in the gravel in turn number 3, trying to get back on the racetrack here. So, one of your top 2 cars, top 3 cars right there is the track is really starting to rain over there in turn number 3.
Yeah. Dave is sitting there patiently waiting for the flaggers to give him the go-ahead to come back around. Now, he will probably go back to the pit so he can get the car checked out, which is one of the rules that we have here in VRG.
Well, I think what he's trying to do is to come counter-race there to come back around through the cutout, which he just did.
That's exactly right. Well, it could be worse.
It could be, and if we go back and take a look, see here that... thankfully, only one car at that point coming out of turn 2, going into turn 3. It's got to be, and I know it's a very uncomfortable position to be in there at the exit of turn 3, looking counter race, knowing that it is somewhat of a blind exit when you come into that corner. So it looks like he's now managed to bring his car back, and he'll head back to the paddock with it.
Is that Joe Griffin retiring too?
Well, I was going to say either that or that's Robert Dusek, because Robert Dusek did not come through the start-finish line because a lot of individuals are really, really having a problem getting through turn 3. And again, everybody's coming down pit road, so a lot of drivers are calling it an early day.
Yeah, we are now seeing a line of 6 or 7 cars heading back to the paddock. Yep. We assume they're heading back to the paddock because we also have a car off on the outside of turn 5.
Yep.
And we are starting to see many drivers here finding as the rain has picked up considerably from what we saw in our first 2 races. Now, gentlemen.
And a couple of them came down pit road and decided to go back out. So knowing that everybody else came in behind them, they in turn decided to go back out so they'll pick up another lap there.
What I think happened with John Filios and Vespez is that they fell off the road, got back on, drove through the pits as they are required to do, and then felt confident enough to go back out. Many of the other folks, not so much, decided, remember, this is fun.
Sure, absolutely.
There's no trophies, and I don't think Gene Haas made it here to do any signings for the F1 candidate.
Not that I have seen lately, nor have I seen any of the other members. Of that
maybe
team,
he's watching the YouTube coverage, though. You don't.
Let us hope. And it's interesting as you mentioned Filios going back out, and he says one of the reasons he got into vintage racing is he didn't like the the competitive crash or win mentality that he sees in some other organizations.
That's right.
And brought him out here. And I think that's the prevailing attitude.
Yeah, no, we bring the cars home the way they came. That is our modus operandi.
Yeah.
Happy to see Doug Meese out there. Yesterday's incident in turn 5 was actually caused by a mechanic who inadvertently failed to properly secure the coil wire on a certain 415. That fell off going down the chute, and as Leon's car was decelerating, Doug tagged him from the back. Doug's car was repaired. Leon's car is repaired, but we fired his father.
Especially since he can't get even the corners right. It was turn 3, not turn 5.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, he apparently was shoveling a lot of gravel out of your car yesterday. So give him a little bit of grace.
Oh, don't be silly. That was my job.
Leon's dad shovels a lot of stuff at various times on a regular basis. It doesn't always smell good.
Oh, my. All right, as we've got now, let's see, we've got 5 laps in the books. And Brian, Wayne Nicolette now here in the damp is starting to make up. He's coming out of turn 10 right now onto the front straight. Has worked his way up, I guess, now into 3rd position. And again, judging because of the timing and scoring issues that we're having, I believe is now up to 3rd position overall.
Yeah, I think so. Again, Jake King still leading. I'm not sure if Brandon Weber actually came down pit road as well and went. I'm not seeing him out there.
I saw him go by.
Actually, as a matter of fact, I see him right here just now coming up out of turn number 3 and up over the hill down into turn number 4.
There he is.
He's that car trying to get by there. You'll see him momentarily. That's the black car going around the outside there. So, again, a really big gap between him and Jake King. But I think he may have fallen off as well. I think he was part of that spin in turn 3 with Dave Handy as well. Went off earlier on and fell back that far. So it could be because they show him now with 4 laps completed, and I think he may have gone off and then rejoined back on. But he's definitely getting sideways. Everybody having a problem through the carousel right now with the wetness.
Yeah, those quick switchbacks, and we talked about wanting to soften the car up a little bit, get a little bit more roll, and getting a little bit more compliance in the suspension. That little section, that quick switchback from a right-hander to a left-hander, they're probably one of the most challenging portions of this track when it does get down.
Exactly. It's also one of the places that we see the biggest deviation from the standard line as people try to get off of the nice rubber sealed bit that gets super slick in the rain.
Right.
So look for interesting lines.
Also good to see that Ron Beard is back out there in the Dan Panaski
Howard.
The Dan Panaski's car that he was he managed to get he was the guy that got caught in the gravel yesterday.
Yeah.
But he's back out there, gets back on the horse, and as all good club racers, he wants to go out and have some fun.
Yeah, I think he was part of that Steve Gilman spin in there in turn number 3 as well.
Yes.
Yesterday. So.
All right, gentlemen, if you don't mind, real quick, I want to scare some of our B-Sedan drivers by telling them they need to head to the grid.
They need to be scared.
Attention in the paddock. Race Group 1, B-Sedan Challenge Series racers, please head to the grid. Your race is next. Race Group number 1, B-Sedan drivers, please head to the grid.
Basically, everybody, with a lot of the cars that have come down, kind of pit road and called it a day and early, we've got a lot of cars that are just kind of spread out, right? I mean, just kind of trying to get it through. And again, it's a matter of what you said, Leon. It's, look, the way I took it off the trailer, that's the way I want to bring it back, right? I want to make sure that it's, I'm able to push it and roll it back into the, into the trailer before it's ready to go home. So
exactly.
A lot of spread out here, taking it easy. At this point, not worried about lap times, not worried about just get me the lap time. Let me race in the rain here a little bit, and then, again, roll it back where I need it to go.
Were I out there right now, this would be a perfect practice session, learning to ride in the rain, try out new lines. Excellent time.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just going to say. I mean, this is an opportunity to, if you've never really raced in the rain and you're in one of these types of cars, this is the perfect opportunity because it's not completely wet, but it is very, very damp.
Yeah.
Right? And so that you learn several things. One, you learn really good about about car control and what your car can and can't do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like we're not seeing some racing out there. I'm pretty sure I just saw some passes taken on the cameras here.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely had a good run coming out of turn number 10. I think that may have been, is that John? I think that was John Vidovich. Again, we saw John in an earlier incident yesterday as well, down there in turn 1. I think made the pass on Emily Ryan going down in turn number 1.
I would say that's exactly what we're looking at is Emily Ryan was side by side going down the front straight and with a great run out of turn 10 was Vidovich in the RF82. Got the pass made as they were heading down there. Of course, Emily had a great run yesterday, and I think she's been vintage racing now for 6 years, and mechanical engineer out of Whitehaven.
I'm glad you guys were talking about the importance of practicing driving in the rain. We don't really get opportunities to do that, and often in the race, particularly if it's a race for points or whatnot, you really don't. You take a different attitude towards it.
Sure.
Yes.
One of the things that we can do to helps that in the school is the wet skid pad in the Crown Vics, where you learn how to feel the limit of adhesion, and then the application of that is how can you use that on a different line to pass, to not be passed, or how to find the driest line on a wet track.
On a wet track, but of course, some of those things it's not always a direct correlation, as we know when we watch here, as the rain continues to come down, or maybe the rain lessens, that the track conditions can be really different almost every single time you come through, and then to some extent that's the same way in the drive. But you always have to go into a lap knowing that you're going to have to adapt corner by corner, and what you saw a minute ago or a minute and a half ago at corner 1 or turn 1 may not be the same the next time you come through.
The most challenging race condition is changing conditions.
Exactly.
And this track in particular is famous for having rain in one corner and completely bone dry in the other.
And we had that yesterday, and actually we were just watching an SCCA race before we start the broadcast today out of Mid-Ohio, where it was exactly the same thing. And of course, that's a track that is absolutely treacherous in the rain.
Treacherous in the drive.
That too. But and I've told Brian this before. My very first year racing, I was racing with SCCA in the Mars series here, and I ran the test day for every single event, and it poured down rain on Friday all season long, but it was bone dry all weekend until the very last event of the year. And I came in October, and I went out for qualifying, and I had literally 2.5 seconds on the rest of my class.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was absolutely amazing, and then it was bone dry the next day for the races. But it is having that practice, which there are so many racers that in like modern day cars, they can come out and they have a set of wet weather tires, and they don't get to use them for 5 years, and at that point now they're rock hard.
Now you got to wrap them in cellophane, man.
Yeah, except trash bags, cellophane, you name it. I've done it, but it's something that you absolutely need practice with it. It keeps the heart rate down as well.
Yeah,
I've never been more on edge as I have been in a damp race. Yeah.
These Hoosiers that we run in Vintage Formula Ford and pretty much throughout VRG are actually decent in the rain.
Yeah.
They aren't as good as pure rain tires. But I want to point out that it looks like there's a late race battle warming up between Wayne Nicolette and Trey Dusick.
Well, I was going to say, Dusick just went by Wayne Nicolette the last lap, so that moved Wayne Nicolette back down into third, and it started really getting closer. Now you can see here's the gap now. Dusick has opened up over Wayne Nicolette, and again, I think Wayne just basically because he's had some challenges as well earlier on this weekend, and of course, you know what? Let me just get this thing through. Let's go through, and we'll fight, live to fight another day, basically.
Yeah, Trey pulling away a bit, but both those guys are just extremely good car control guys, understand the limits of their cars.
Not for nothing, they are very good drivers, so don't let it look like they're just rolling over here.
Yeah, correct. No, absolutely. And Wayne's got a lot of experience on this racetrack. I mean,
I've gone wheel to wheel with it before. He's
time,
a beast.
Yep.
All right, as we have just a touch under 3 minutes remaining, gentlemen, let me make another call to the grid for our B-Sedan racers. Race group number 1, B-Sedan Challenge Series racers, please head to the grid. Race group number 1, B-Sedan racers, this is your final call to the grid.
We had a chance to call out John Filios in the Z16 that's out there right now. I like calling out the midfield guys because, hey, they're here for fun. But there's one guy who was out there earlier. I wanted to call him out all weekend. He wisely went in under the rain. It's another 16 driven by Sergeant Brian Coolig of the Maryland State Police. He's one of my all-time favorite drivers, a good friend, sweetheart of a guy, and a great racer, but don't go speeding anywhere near Salisbury.
No. And he's also isn't he a driving instructor for the state police? And I don't have his information in front of me. He sent it to me in prior years. He is a driving instructor. That's right. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So don't try to outrun him either.
No.
Yeah, no.
Don't even think about it.
and if I remember correctly, and I'm looking to see if we could find his car out on track right now.
No, he was out earlier. I'm pretty sure he came.
He did pull in.
I was just going to say, we had 23 drivers really that took the green flag, and right now we're up to 13 that are left on the racetrack. So, 10 drivers came in, including Frank, and I think that's probably because he couldn't see.
Yeah.
Right. Frank couldn't see. So.
Well, we have so many orange and white machines out there right now.
He's in the camouflage, so you wouldn't have been able to see him anyway.
Well, no. I was talking about Brian Cool.
Oh yeah, Brian Cool.
Yeah, in this weather, you might never see Frank's car.
Yeah, I was going to say, as it's
he's probably leading the race.
Could be.
A good friend of mine, Rob Luke, he went out and he was so happy one year. He had painted his improved touring Honda Civic as like battleship gray. And the very first weekend, it was like this, and maybe even a little fog early in the morning. I literally could not see him on track, and I was 10 feet behind him.
Mike Clark just putting a nice pass going into turn 1 on Ron Beard. And a nice little group of cars going into turn 3, carefully dealing with what is probably one of the slipperiest corners on the track.
Yeah, I was going to say, that seems like that's where the hardest part of the rain came down that we saw early on. So some of these drivers, Ira Nesbitt in that 555 in that wind shadow club.
Yeah, I think we've got John Filios in there as well, and I believe in that group also Gary Rutherford.
Yes, number 5. I believe Gary is still out there.
Yeah.
It seemed like it rained just enough to get the oils up to the surface and then kind of cut off.
Yeah.
It's a lot different when you get like a proper torrential downpour and it wipes the entire track surface clean.
Exactly. I mean, again, and we were talking about this yesterday when things started. And as we've got the checker, I think we'll have the checkered flag for the next cars to come around a little bit early here. But yeah, indeed, these are I think for most racers the most challenging conditions because it's not. Well, certainly not dry, but there's not enough water there really for those tires to evacuate, and because you've got the smaller tread blocks, you just don't have a great amount of tread pattern on the pavement itself, and that oil coming up makes things all that much more difficult. All right, so checkered flag is out for our racers still on track, and got a few racers still coming out of the final corners onto the front straight to take the checkered flag. Jake King finishing first on track in his Royale with Robert Dusek and Wayne Nicolette finishing second and third overall. With Doug Meese, Gavin Clark, Tim Nichols, Brandon Weber, Emily Ryan working her way up to 8th, John Vidovich, and Ira Nesbitt rounding out your top 10.
Well, I was going to say, Doug Meese, it's probably a good thing that we ended when we did, because he just pulled out through the cutout here coming out of turn number 2. I'm not sure if he ran out of fuel or what, because he had pace going down into turn 1.
Say for certain that his oil filter is secure. That's about it.
Okay, so it's a yes.
So I'm wondering if, because he did have pace when he went by the start-finish line, and then all of a sudden when he got to turn 1 and in the middle of turn 2, it just...
Maybe his coil wire fell off.
Maybe it could be.
Hats off to everybody that started this race, finished this race.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to the guys that came in for their wisdom to get out.
Probably okay to
do that too.
Yep.
All right, so that's going to wrap things up for our final Formula Ford race here of the weekend. Want to thank Leon Hodges Austin and Denny Austin so much for joining us here today. Thank you, gentlemen. And, of course, go and thank Frank, and good run for him this morning as well. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back we go from the open wheel cars to the small 2.5 liter machines to the B-Sedans here next at the Jefferson 500. Stay with us.
My name is Cameron McGuire. I'm from Monterey, California. I got into cars because I grew up around them. I grew up around a major concours event and seeing all the people that would come together over such a simple creation, yet so complex. It's always intrigued me, and I've always liked seeing people get excited over those things. My interest in cars has kind of formed my career path because I've always been mechanically inclined and enjoyed using my hands. And my second passion is people, and I've seen cars as a tool to bring people together and help them learn and enjoy. I hope that one day my job can be owning a museum, that I could run a museum and research center that helps people of all interest levels dive deeper into vintage cars. The Piston Foundation has helped me kind of get started with this career path by providing the funds that help me get through this college. It's an expensive private institution, and so it costs more than most people are able to afford, but because of the Piston Foundation, I can continue to follow my dreams.
Willing and Able Racing offers top-quality spec race car rentals with full setup and repair services, including trackside support for SCCA, NASA, VRG, and other organizations' road race, time trials, and track day events. Their spec racer Ford specialists and each of their Gen 3 machines sports a SATAV sequential transmission and a data acquisition system. Also offering spec Miata rentals, Willing and Able is currently taking reservations for the remainder of the Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series season. For more information, email Willing and Able at rent@WNARacing.com, see them on Instagram at WNA Racing, or visit their website at WNARacing.com. Willing and Able would like to thank all the volunteers this weekend who've graciously donated their time so that we may race.
Looking to level up your motorsport game? At Courage Motorsport, we've got everything you need, from high-performance parts and racing equipment to expert driving instruction and even our own Courage racing gear. Whether you're a beginner, a pro, or looking to kickstart your motorsport career with training in both the business of racing and securing sponsorships, we've got you covered. Check out our gear, grab a shirt, and represent your passion. Email us at trackready@couragemotorsport.com or visit couragemotorsport.com and get ready to hit the track.
Welcome back to Summit Point Raceway in the 2026 Jefferson 500 presented by the Vintage Racer Group. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with Brian Donati and David Lance, and we have special guest Joe Teplitz joining us here once again today for our B-Sedan races. But first, let's run down the starting order. Starting on pole today, driving the number 79 Straight A Performance Volkswagen Scirocco, Jeremy Hoover. Steve Byrne in his Datsun 510 will start on the outside of the front row, with Michael Buck in the Lima Company Ford Capri starting in third. Starting fourth in the Skidmark Racing 1970 BMW 2002, Perry Genova, with AJ Ferragonio in the C&G Performance 1974 BMW 2002 TII. He will start fifth. Starting on the outside of row number 3 in his 1973 Mazda RX-3, Wechen Sarabon. Gary Reed in a 1969 Datsun 510. The number 161 car will start seventh. Starting in eighth from the decal shop Racer Walsh Company, it is the 1971 Ford Pinto of Brian Walsh. Dennis Shaw in his 1980 AMC Spirit, that's the IMSA RS machine from Team Highball. It is starting ninth, with Dave Nicholas in his 1973 BMW 2002, starting in 10th. Peter Bauer in the Slip Angle Racing Datsun 510. Heard they might have exacted some repairs on that car last night. The number 511 machine will start 11th, with Don Wanigat in the Don's Auto Sales and Repair Alfa Romeo GTV, starting in 12th. Joe Lyles in the AutobahnClassicCars.com 1970 BMW 2002. The number 206 machine starting lucky 13th, with Kevin Dillard in his 1971 BMW 2002 TII starting 14th. Dennis Lane in the left lane vintage Volkswagen GTI starting 15th, and Mark Grimsley in the Grims Racing 1970 Datsun 510 starting 16th. Paul Marcones in the Radial Tire Company Ford Pinto starts 17th, with Lee Poseidon in his 1969 Datsun 510 starting 18th. And making up row number 10, driving the number 201 Skidmark Racing 1974 BMW 2002, we got Lucian Genova, with Jeff Downing in the Bollesburg Car Company 1973 2002, starting in 20th, as the pace car now heads to the pit lane, turning things over not to a Volkswagen Scirocco, but over to the 1970 510 of Steve Byrne, with the Ford Capri on the outside of the front row. That's Michael Buck as the starter looks over the field, and green flag is in the air. We're racing here once again at Summit Point Raceway, as that 510 seems to get bottled up there at the start. The Ford Capri, though, making its run down towards turn 1. So let's give that first corner now to Michael Buck as Steve Byrne and Perry Genova follow him in, and sitting side by side now. Perry Genova getting underneath our pole sitter, and Genova, it looks like he's going to jump out to second position as they come out from behind the trees and make the run, the short shoot, down into turn 3, Brian.
I'll tell you what, Perry Genova made a driver's right move right there at the start. That forced Steve Byrne to move to the middle of the racetrack. He had really nowhere to go, had to give the position up when they got down into turn number 1. So good move by Perry Genova, making that right pass to driver's right of the racetrack.
All right, so as I alluded to when we started up, we've got friend of the show and friend of vintage racing with us. Had to ask him back after all the great knowledge he imparted with us yesterday. Joe Teplitz, racer here in the B-Sedan Racing Series. He's also the race director for the 2026 edition of the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix, taking place this July in Shenley Park. Joe, welcome back.
Good morning.
Absolutely. So, we talked. We've talked in the last couple of races with some of the experts that have come in about the changing conditions here and slightly damp racing. Although it looks like now starting to see the sun poke through the skies, and maybe the track is dry. I know I don't want to jinx it, but maybe things are drying up. From what we've seen so far, how much, if at all, do you think the wet stuff has affected these drivers here early on?
So I don't think there's very much dampness on the track right now. It'll dry out. Formula Fords were out there and heated up the track, so I think most of the people will just be following their normal line.
And just as we say that, it looks like a little more rain coming down right over our shoulder We see things brightening up on the front straight about, about 800 feet back behind it. It looks like the rain's starting to come down a little bit, but as we said, not a great deal here. Maybe just a little bit of oil coming up through the pavement. We don't see the racers adjusting their lines all that much, even as they go through one of the most challenging corners here on the course, Joe, because of the typical speed through there going down through the chute.
I had the most spectacular spin of my life at turn 3 one morning. I was the only car that went out because it was raining heavily. I love the rain, and I was the only car that went out for the qualifying. Turn 1 was fine. It was pouring rain. Turn 2 was okay. Turn 3, I had this spectacular spin, and I, as we have to do at VRG, I came into black flag, and black flag steward said, "Do you think it might have been ice?" This was at the Turkey Bowl in November.
That's it.
And
It's snowed,
absolutely.
It snowed a couple times. So, yeah.
I hadn't thought of it until then, and then I thought, absolutely. He said that the corner workers had noticed some ice on their step going into the...
If that's what they think it is, that's absolutely what it was.
Exactly.
Well, one year we had 5 inches of snow that came down the Tuesday before the Turkey Bowl. We got here Friday morning, went out for some practice on Friday afternoon, and ended up, I got bumped coming out of turn 10, slid down the grass, the snow line, and ended up with snow all up in the car and everything else. So
wow.
It very well could have been ice in here one time.
Oh, my.
As the track seems to start, again, the rain has kind of come back in here, Greg, just as you were talking about. When I look back out the back window here, down towards really turn 3 and all the way to the backside of this racetrack, it is definitely raining. These guys are really struggling to get through turn 3. A couple cars, and guys, we've got cars all over the place, down into the corner, down the chute. It looks like that is Weech and Sauerbrunn as one of them. I think there's the 511 who was off. Sauerbrunn's the one looking backwards.
And firing that rotary up. Nice fire behind.
Trying to get it fired up anyway. So we've got quite a bit there as they're going to start to come down through there. Again, you can see some of the dirt that's been kicked up on driver's right of that. So I think that was a product of getting spun through there. Looks like he's going to get that hopefully rolling and back up, as now he's kind of backing up.
Well, unfortunately, right now, as he's in a very precarious position, sitting right in the center of the track there, as it looks like he tries to fire it off again. And I hate to say it, but if it were me, Joe, I'd probably head to the grass and go straight forward and try to get it turned around a little bit in the grass. This is not a good way to be. David, why don't we pick up some of the other action as he's trying to get things back underway. And we'll check back in with him in a moment. So I was going to ask, especially now as the rain is starting to pick up a little bit, at least in some places around the track, tell us about maybe the tires that the B-Sedan cars are driving now. The Formula Fords we just had out on track, they run the same tread pattern and same tires regardless of whether it's wet or whether it's dry. What do we see typically under these B-Sedan cars?
So in the B-Sedan cars, most people either run the Hoosier Speedsters, Street TDs, or the Toyo R888Rs. All of those tires are pretty good in the wet. In these conditions today, I would have gone out with my dry tires on. It's always it's up for grabs on what you go out on. The forecast showed that it was going to start raining heavier, so they're all out there on dry tires, I would imagine.
Got it. All right. So here, as we are now 3 laps in the books, working lap number 4, and had some changes up towards the front of the field. As we saw early on that Steve Byrne had jumped out to that good start, but Michael Buck in his Ford Capri, the best of the bunch, he's now fallen a little bit further back, as that Capri has had some challenges with the wet weather. I think some of the shorter wheelbase cars, and here's comes the Capri now onto the front straight behind our 2 leaders. So Michael Buck now falling almost 6 seconds back from Perry Genova and Steve Byrne, who are door to door as they come down into turn number 1. And Joe, I guess the Capri a little bit longer wheelbase than the 510 and the 2002, perhaps making that a little bit more challenging for for him?
It might add to the stability, actually. I have a 510, and it's a great car in the rain.
Yeah.
I feel better. I like the car better in the rain than I do in the dry. It's a combination of tires, the line you take, which is in the wet, you don't take the same line as you do in the dry. How smooth you are. So, as we say in the school, in wet weather and in any weather, slow hands in the fast stuff, fast hands in the slow stuff.
Exactly. And as we saw Weichat Sarabon have his challenges over at turn 5, and he's just now actually coming out right ahead of our leaders.
Yeah, he pulled out right in front of the leaders there, so he's going to give them the room. But
yeah, and I suspect that I think this is the first time that he's had the RX-3 out. I've seen a number of drivers in that chassis in particular because have very good luck in the rain, and I think a lot of it is the track on that RX-3 seemingly is almost as wide as the wheelbase is long. It's a very, very square car. It seems to typically do well in the wet. But again, I think this is Sarabon's very first weekend behind the wheel of that car, if I remember correctly.
I would guess he'll be a little more conservative for the rest of the race. I was watching him at turn 4 yesterday as he came down the chute into turn 5, and all the cars sounded the same. His tires were singing when he went into turn 5.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what kind of tires he has.
I tell you what, guys, there's a great battle going on just behind our leaders. Dave, let's leave this shot right here. You can see that now coming out of turn 2. That's Dave Nichols in the 6th and AJ Ferragonio. They have been side by side coming out of turn 10 the last 3 laps. And then Dave Nichols would pull ahead, then AJ would pull ahead, then Dave would pull ahead, then AJ would pull ahead. Now it does look like AJ's been able to get around Dave Nichols, but that battle was fantastic coming out of turn number 10. Now it looks like AJ's going to try to reel in Michael Buck in that Ford Capri there, Greg. But I tell you what a great run of both of those drivers, almost side by side down the entire front stretch.
AJ is a terrific driver. He's a Pittsburgh guy, and he's good in the wet or the dry. He wins PBGP a lot. That car is beautiful, and he's a great driver.
Yeah, and Brian and I have had a lot of experiences. He's raced some more modern BMWs as well, and great hands behind the wheel, and wonderful car control.
One of the differences in PBGP compared to this is that it's a road through a city park rather than a racetrack, so it's got a high crown in the middle. And when you first drive it the first time, you think about the curbs and everything, and the thing that has the biggest impact is that crown. If you track out on the wrong side of the crown, you've got work to do to get back over to the other side.
Yeah, and we see in a lot of cases here at Summit Point in particular, coming out of turn 8, moving up the hill, that there is probably a more pronounced, especially since they repaved the track the last time here a number of years ago, a very pronounced crown center of the track to help the drainage there. And it also, for a lot of the modern cars, just happens to be right about the place where you'd want to make a 3rd gear to 4th gear shift. And as people clutch in and release the drive line and the weight moves forward a little bit, the rear end wants to then come around, and so you do find a lot of racers that they're going to have to short shift through that portion of the track just to deal with it.
There are every racetrack, when it starts to rain more heavily than this, they develop these little rivers. Watkins Glen is notorious for that. There's one here around turn 9 and 10. Watkins Glen, as you go down into the boot, there's a little river that happens there right where you'll be hitting the brakes.
Word, Mark Grimsley going 2 or 4 wheels off there in turn number 3 was able to hold on that and correct it and get going. So,
all right, real quick, Brian, let's see, because I want to see our next bout as they practice throttle control here in these conditions. Race group number 2, Big Bore Racers, please head to the grid. Your race is next. Race group number 2, this is your first call to the grid. All right, so Joe, as we continue to watch here, is Lucian Genova here and Dave Nicholas, pardon me, continue their little tete-a-tete here as they continue on as they now are coming back up on that Mazda RX-3 as Sarabon, I'm sure, trying to find some more speed out here.
Now, he sounded like he had a little bit of a transmission problem the last time he came by the start-finish line. It looked like he couldn't either get it into gear, was able to get it in going down into turn number 1, but it looked like he almost missed that shift from third to fourth.
And it's always hard to tell what kind of noises are coming out of those rotary.
Yes.
It's like Brian Walsh is calling it an early afternoon here or early morning as he has taken that car down the pit lane.
He's moved over to the 99 car from I think the 93. Of course, Brian continuing the Walsh family tradition here. His dad used to race in the IMSA Firehawk series back in the late 80s, and I think racing basically all up and down the East Coast and up and down the Mississippi, including Bridgehampton and the old Briar layout, Daytona, Sebring, you name it. Of course, now Brian Walsh, I think probably one of the biggest personalities that you'll see here in the VRG paddock, Joe.
Big personality and big hat.
And a very big hat. Yes. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Cat in the Hat. Minus the red and white stripes.
That's right. That number 93 car is the same car that his father drove.
Is it?
Yeah. I believe it is.
Peter Bauer calling it an early morning as well, coming down in the pit.
Yeah, I think what happened to Brian Walsh is he probably spun or did something, came into black flag. One of the reasons they come into black flag is, well, there are a few reasons. One is to just kind of calm the driver down a little bit. Mm-hmm. The other is so the black flag steward can look at the car and see if there's anything hanging off of it or they collected anything when they went off the track.
Yeah, and so, Brian, you just talked about Peter Bauer bringing his machine back to the paddock. That car being in 1971 Datsun 510. He's had some ignition issues with some rocker issues over the last couple of days. I was talking to my good friend Roger Troxel last night about it, and I think the retaining caps on the rockers are actually backing out on at least one, I think on the number 3 cylinder for that car. But Peter has been restoring cars for a number of years. I think he's been racing now for vintage racing since 1995, and he also great stories. Of course, he's driving a Datsun, but his father was a Porsche mechanic for almost 30 years, and so Peter growing up with the racing bug, of course. Actually, so I think you're right. To check to see, actually it was Brian Walsh in the 93, but we still have the 99 Pinto out on track. I just saw it go down into turn 1. There's the 99 car. So who is the real Brian Walsh?
That's it, right? Well, the real Brian Walsh, please stand up.
When he was the race chairman one year, he went by the Brian Walsh. So
that's it.
You got it right.
That's right. And real quick, we had, I think it's the 57 in the chat. He said, isn't the Capri a Mercury? Mm-hmm. And the answer is not exactly. The German Capris, well, I don't think they were branded as either Fords or Mercuries when they came. They were sold through Mercury dealerships here in the United States, but I don't think they had anything marked on them other than Capri, but obviously known as Fords.
It was similar with the Mercure. Remember the Mercure?
Right.
Yeah, similar. That was one of the first turbocharged cars.
Yeah, we had the XR4 Ti, which was the not the Mondeo. I can't even remember the model number now. That had the 4-cylinder turbocharged motor, the 2.3 liter motor that was in the SVO Mustang, and then we had the big Mercure Scorpio, Ford Scorpio, rear-wheel drive hatchback executive sedan I'd still love to pick up one of those
Yeah,
if I could find one.
Great cars.
Well, from 68 to 86, the Ford was done out of Europe. So this
Right.
is the coupe, the fastback coupe. So
Yep, there it is, going into turn 3.
73.
Beautiful
Yep.
machine.
And Greg, next time by, Steve Byrne comes by, which I do believe he may have just went by, may have missed it here. Actually, coming out of turn number 10 right now.
Yeah, I was going to say he's going to be.
Nope, that's actually
that's
the
Mark.
23. That's Mark Grimsley. Next time by, he's going to get the 1 to go. So Steve Byrne just now coming up underneath the bridge out of.
Yeah, he should be coming into our view now. As our starter, he's got the little 1 to go board at his hip. So I knew he had pulled it out.
Yeah.
This is a good opportunity. Let me make another call to the grid for our Big Bore Racers. Attention in the paddock, final call for race group number 2. Big Bore Racers, please head to the grid. Race group number 2. Big Bore Racers, please head to the grid.
Tell you what, Perry Genova not too far behind Steve Byrne. I know it's 6 seconds, but it's really not as far as that 6 seconds looks. Going down into turn number 1, Steve Byrne doing everything he can to get through this race here, Joe. I tell you what, it's going to be to hold off there. Again, both cars have clear tracks. So.
Yeah, indeed. And I would say, if anything, and he's still 3.5 seconds back, I think Perry Genova might want to be watching for AJ Ferragonio, who's closing things up. Steve Byrne actually expanded his advantage just a little bit.
Yeah,
that last lap.
I don't think Steve Byrne knows how to back off.
No.
There's no taking it easy.
There's always the controversy about white flag with 1 to go. Some people argue that it incents bad behavior. We use it at PVGP, and the main reason for that is that I've never seen a white flag with 1 to go when my reaction wasn't, oh, thank God.
Thank God, exactly. I once ran a race here with another organization at Summit Point, and it was supposed to be, I think, a 20-minute race. And I'm timing out, and I actually have a stopwatch sitting on the hub of the steering wheel, so I can kind of time this out. And it was over July 4th weekend, and it was somewhere around as our leader now coming across the line and taking the checkered flag, Steve Byrne, your race winner. And it was somewhere around 94, 95 ambient air, so you could imagine being in a race car and in the heat of the middle of the day with the sun beating down. And the race director thought, hey, it'd be a wonderful idea, give these guys, because we had a bunch of spectators here at the time, give these guys a couple extra laps. Never mind the fact I didn't know if I'd actually make it on fuel. But I kept waiting and looking for the white flag, going, oh, please, please bring it out now, because I was just melting down in the car.
I've been there.
Sometimes it has absolutely nothing to do with taking a race win. It means getting back and not collapsing before the end of the day.
Exactly.
All right, so with the checkered flag out, Steve Byrne is going to take the overall win in that TA2 class for almost all of these cars are in the TA2 class for the B-Sedan Racing Series. Perry Genova finishing second. AJ Ferragonio resets fast lap again on the final lap, closes the gap down to just a touch over 2 seconds between he and Genova. Michael Buck will finish in third. Lucian Genova will finish in fifth in his BMW 2002. Dave Nicholas will finish sixth. Gary Reed, Raymond Junkins, and Bob Ball finishing 7th, 8th, and 9th. And then Mark Grimsley in his Datsun 510 will round out the top 10. So, Joe, before we let you go and before we take a break, of course, we have Shenley Park coming up in about a month and a half. Tell us a little bit more about it.
The middle of July, we have a new start-finish line, so we've got start-finish in front of the more of the spectators. There was a hillside where people used to watch the start-finish, but the city made that kind of a wetlands, so they can't stand there. So we've got it down near Phipps Conservatory. The road surface at Shenley Park is better than I've ever seen it.
Wonderful.
And the big news this year is that we've got the serpentine back. The truck went over the wall in the serpentine a few years ago, and we've had a double yellow zone down through there. Since then, the wall's been rebuilt. The surface is good, and we've got our serpentine back, no double yellow.
All right, well, the weekend, it is the weekend of July 18th and 19th. Did I get the date?
That's correct.
All right, and if you want to find out more about the PVGP, the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix, you can go to pvgp.org. You said a whole, 10 days worth of activities leading up.
10 days
to
of
race.
car shows and celebrations, black tie event. It's a great week. We get 100,000 spectators. It's fabulous.
Amazing. Absolutely.
Come on out.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. If you're heading out towards Western PA, you definitely want to take in the PVGP. All right, so Joe, thank you so much for joining us here today, and thank you for all that you do for vintage racing for VRG. We talked about, well, your racing and your volunteer resume with VRG yesterday, but want to thank you so much. And, of course, want to thank everybody for watching here today. If you like what you see and if you like what you hear, please give us a big thumbs up, and also go ahead and subscribe to the VRG YouTube channel. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers here this weekend, and we want to thank you so much for watching. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back here in just a few moments with more racing action from Summit Point Raceway in the Jefferson 500. Stay with us.
My name is Tara Feeney, and I'm from Scottsdale, Arizona. So I first got into cars because I kind of grew up in a car family. My grandpa was a car collector, so I grew up around classic cars. And then I just figured out that that's what I loved, it's what I was passionate about, so I stuck with it. So I wanted to work on classic cars as a career after doing it in high school and realizing that I was super happy at that job and super fulfilled, and I just was passionate about keeping history on the road. I would love to be an engine technician, and my hope one day is to open my own shop. The Piston Foundation has helped me by allowing me to focus on college instead of worrying about my finances, and has been instrumental in my success.
Willing and Able Racing offers top-quality spec race car rentals with full setup and repair services, including trackside support for SCCA, NASA, VRG, and other organizations' road race, time trials, and track day events. Their spec racer Ford specialists and each of their Gen 3 machines sports a SATAV sequential transmission and a data acquisition system. Also offering spec Miata rentals, Willing and Able is currently taking reservations for the remainder of the Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series season. For more information, email Willing and Able at rent@WNARacing.com, see them on Instagram at WNA Racing, or visit their website at WNARacing.com. Willing and Able would like to thank all the volunteers this weekend who've graciously donated their time so that we may race.
Looking to level up your motorsport game? At Courage Motorsport, we've got everything you need, from high-performance parts and racing equipment to expert driving instruction and even our own Courage racing gear. Whether you're a beginner, a pro, or looking to kickstart your motorsport career with training in both the business of racing and securing sponsorships, we've got you covered. Check out our gear, grab a shirt, and represent your passion. Email us at trackready@couragemotorsport.com or visit couragemotorsport.com and get ready to hit the track.
Welcome back to Summit Point Raceway and the 2026 Jefferson 500. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with Brian Donati and David Lance. We're bringing you all the action here this morning. Final races of the day at Summit Point for the Jefferson. And next up, it's our big bore racers. We saw the 2.5 liter cars here just a few moments ago. These guys, they're going to have to really practice their throttle control over the next 20 minutes. Let's run down the starting order. Scheduled to start on pole, driving the number 44 Datsun 240Z. It's Chris Zappa with Richard Molesky in the Goberian Motorsports Ford GT40. Not out there. I don't see him out there.
Neither is Zappa as well.
Yeah, Zappa wasn't as well. That's going to move, I think, Gary Moore in his
He's
Mercury.
not out there either.
He's not out there either. All right.
Neither's Kruger. Neither's Perry.
Perry. That person's the David Dean. There we go. David Dean originally scheduled to start 6th. He's going to be your pole sitter today in his 1969 Porsche 911. Mark Wiening in the 911 SE, the ECI Motorsports car, scheduled to start 2nd. Ken Fitzgerald, I see his Lotus Esprit out on track. Ken, their next driver in line, scheduled to start 3rd, with Doug Hagopian in the High Fire Industries Porsche 911 starting next. Greg Smith in the GSB Racing 1966 Ford Mustang. That's the 66 machine. And then we got the Good Hands Racing Porsche 911, the 1988 911 of Scott Bresnahan. Patrick Ross in his 1972 Datsun 240Zs. Next up with Steve Wilson in the Vandelay Industries Porsche 944 Turbo of Steve Wilson. Next in line. Then we got Mark Lupfer in his Datsun 240Z alongside Charles Lovelady in the 1969, my favorite car out here if it is, that dark green, no it isn't, the dark green 1969 Chevy Camaro. Great. How about Greg Hagopian in the 1963 red Jaguar E-Type Coupe? I think
he is there.
He is out there, I definitely saw Phil Ackley. Phil Ackley is not going to turn down a chance to race in the rain. He's actually right next to the blue Mustang. He's in the preferred commercial assets BMW 323. Then Mike Kincaid in his Ford Mustang, and Devin Gidra, in the KPG Datsun 240Z as the starter looks over the field, and we are racing again here at Summit Point Raceway. The Jefferson 500 is our racers. Hopefully they're not barreling in the damn conditions here, down into turn 1. I might want to have somebody set up on this skid. Yeah, probably. And I'm not going to say they're rolling into turn 1 either. As we've got the Porsche 911, that is David Dean's going to lead the field into turn number 1. Ken Fitzgerald, great start for the Lotus, the X-World Challenge machine. There, the 1991 Esprit slotting into 2nd position. And then we've got the Porsche of Mark Wiening with Phil Ackley in the white BMW, very close behind. As Brian, it looks like the rain has started to pick up once again.
Yeah, I was going to say I think it's raining everywhere but turn 1 and turn 2 right now again. And Ken Fitzgerald came all the way around the outside of turn 1 all the way through turn 2, got past Dennis Dean. Then we've got a waving yellow down there now. It's got to be one of the 2 front runners, because those were the first 2 down there. Let's see if we can't get a call here. Who's going to come out? And that was Fitzgerald, because here comes Dennis Dean. Yeah,
and so Dean with the rear-engine Porsche makes it through. The mid-engine Lotus does not. And you think about having an engine out over the back axle like the Porsche 911 would make it very difficult to drive in the wet, Brian. It actually helps as you get onto the throttle, as the car hunkers down over that axle, gives you a little bit extra grip. Mid-engine cars, they have a tendency to get very loose in the rear.
Yeah.
And looks like that bit Ken Fitzgerald that time through. As our racers coming on to the front straight, that's going to move Phil Ackley now up into 3rd position, and then directly behind, speaking about mid-engine cars, we've got the 914-6 of Jordan Beal now running in 4th position, with Frank Bioni in his Datsun 260Z slotting into 4th position.
Yeah, 24-year-old Philip Ackley. Of course, Friday
he gains a year every single day.
Every time he's out there. We got one car down on pit road. That's going to be the 38 machine.
Yeah, one of our Datsun 240Zs.
Right, not really completing a lap.
Yeah, he's going to bring that car behind the wall. Maybe doesn't like doesn't like the lack of grip out there, and wants to preserve the machine.
Yeah, I mean, drivers are almost coming to a complete stop, and we saw this earlier on. I think turn 3 is the slickest part of this racetrack right now, Greg, because the drivers are almost coming to a complete stop. And again, these larger, heavier cars, and again, they don't have rain tires on. I can almost guarantee, because it really wasn't raining when they first started to go out.
No.
It wasn't until they took the green flag when the rain started to really get a little bit heavier back on the backside of this racetrack. But
So Brian, funny thing is, as David Dean goes to the top of the order, I think this is a great play. He says his very first race ever was a rain race, and he actually took the win. There were 4 other cars in class, but here's the point. He says he should have retired after that race.
Well,
as there he is leading what is definitely not his first race. He's been racing now for 15 years. He's been vintage racing for 8 in this Porsche 911. He's been running it, I think, since 1998.
Yeah. Well, technically, what ends up happening is when you go out and you're in a race where it is raining or just starting to rain and track's getting, you tend to tense up, right, in the car, and you really don't want to do that. You want to stay just as loose as you are if it's in the dry. So I think that's sometimes where a lot of, and Peter would probably agree with me as well, when you start to tense up and you start to, do things that out of the ordinary that you would normally do, well, that causes the car to be even worse.
Yeah, talk about somebody who's tensing up a little bit. I think Jordan Beal in the number 17 914-6. He's started to back things down just a little bit, as we just had Derek Swigger in that beautiful 71 911T outbreak him down into turn 1. Just a little bit more confident here in the wet weather, but again, those rear-engined cars may be having a bit of an advantage over the mid-engine 914s.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the 2 Ford Mustang, Greg Smith, Mike Kincaid, and the blue 66 and the white 91, I was looking through binoculars, watching them come through turn 1 and up into turn 2, out of turn number 2. You can see there, right there, that's Greg Smith in the blue 66, Mike Kincaid in the white 91. They were right there with John Jeffrey, and I tell you what, all 3 of them just kind of like, nope, you go. Nope, you go ahead and go.
No, you go.
Let me see what it looks like down there while you're going.
All right, so Mark Wiening now moving up into second position overall in his silver 911 SC Euro, the 1982 chassis out of Hoxton, Delaware. And this is, I believe, his very first year racing and doing vintage racing. He's been racing for 23 years overall, and the car that he's driving, Brian, he said it was actually bought while in Germany by an Army Ranger and then imported to the USA. Mark picked this car up back in 2001. I said after, and tell me if you haven't heard this before, after the Porsche had a catastrophic engine failure.
Never heard that.
No, that never ever happens. And knowing what its place in life should be, says he immediately converted it to a race car, and he's been doing PCA racing with it since 2002. So great to see him bring this out now for the Jefferson 500.
Just as I talked about Greg Smith, he has now brought it down pit lane again. So, that Ford Mustang not really wanting to run out here on this damp racetrack. And I talked about Philip Ackley. Well, he's dropped back a couple positions as now Derek Swagger has gone around him as well in that number 6 in that Porsche 911. So move Phil back 2 positions, where he was running in the top 3. He's now back going to be in 5th. Should be getting ready to come through into your screen right here. There's the 2 cars. There's Swagger that just went around him. And then there's Philip Ackley in that BMW as well.
Real quick, Brian, I want to cover it. We have Jordan Engel in the chat, and Jordan, I want to thank you for watching here today. Indeed, our coverage only will run through the last of the races this morning, and so we're going to be wrapping our coverage up somewhere around 12:30 today. There are 2 extended length races after VRG takes a break for lunch. It's what they consider to be all-comers races. Basically, for the racers that are still here at the facility, we're going to have a race for our closed wheel racers. It starts at 1:30 and goes to about 2:10. And then for our open wheel racers, starting at 2:15 today, they're going to be wrapping up just before 3 o'clock this afternoon. Those races are not going to be broadcast, but certainly come on down, come to Summit Point, watch some racing. You'll definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, the all-comer races, again, as you just said, Greg, not being covered, but it's great. It's fun to get out here. It's additional track time. Hopefully by then the rain is completely gone by the time they come back from lunch and do that. But, like I said, we're not really seeing a lot of rain down in 1 and 2, but it's everywhere else.
Everywhere else.
It is starting to rain. I'm kind of looking through the binoculars, watching everybody go down into turn 1, into turn 2. Just to see it. It looks like the rain is there, but it's not a
there.
big deal.
Yeah, you can see the pavement now a little bit darker. Now there is that white little light little stripe. That is actually where the sealant is on the track, and I think most of our racers would probably do well to stay clear of that little little piece of pavement there. But as we have the Datsun now, as well as one of our Ford Mustangs. And that's
the 91.
That's the 91. Yeah, exactly. The Mike Kincaid there in his 1965 Ford Mustang coming down into turn 1. It looks like the grip is pretty good over there. Those racers still coming down the traditional line and breaking into that brake zone all the way over driver's left.
Yeah. Tell you the 3 Porsches there, as you talked about, David Dean, Mark Weining, and then Derek Swagger again setting the fastest lap of the race here. As we watch down on the camera, Swagger getting in there a little bit too hot there, a little side-to-side action going down there under braking. So that's going to open up that gap between second and third. But I tell you what a way to handle that going down into turn number 1.
Yeah, and so Swigger there almost 2 full seconds faster than Mark Weining that last time through. So we're gonna see the battle, the 2 silver 911s here momentarily. Of course, Swigger's car about 10 years the elder over Mark Weining's. A little bit narrower track than the SC Euro that Weining is driving. But I'll tell you, Frank Buoni in his Datsun 260Z. Now that is also one of those cars where you have to do a little bit of throttle modulation here, Brian. We've got the straight 6 that machine has, a 2.6 liter, and good amount of torque from that engine. The difference is, as opposed to the Porsches, he doesn't have the weight of the motor hunkering down over the axle when he gets on the throttle.
Yeah. And again, you talked about another Porsche there, Jordan Beal. He's putting a lot of pressure on Phillip Ackley too. So again, the top 4 out of the 5, once Jordan catches up to Phil, is going to, they're going to be Porsches, right? So all 3 of those Porsches getting ready to come out of turn number 10 now, head down the start finish line. But there's Phil Ackley opening up a little bit over that red Porsche 914 of Jordan Beal. But Beal was right on the back bumper of him the last time they came down out of turn number 1. Again, that battle continues in the top spot here with David Dean and Mark Weining and Derek Swagger. That is the top spot, not only in the race, but that isn't for class, right? So all of those cars are in that CP class, that C production class, along with that 260 and that Datsun as well. So,
all right, real quick, Brian, let's make a call to the grid for our next group. Attention in the paddock. First call to the grid for race group number 3. Our medium bore racers, please head to the grid. Race group number 3, medium bore racers. Your race is next. Please head to the grid.
Again, watching those drivers, those Porsches, they all seem to be going in the exact same spot there, Greg, trying to just stay in line until they get down to the end of this race. Again, you got about 7 minutes left to go here, and all 3 of those drivers doing a fantastic job of not only taking it easy getting through there, but still trying to get through, as you talked about at the beginning with the throttle modulation, to get through the trickiest part of this racetrack as being the carousel.
Yeah, and it looks like Boney now closing
Yeah.
things up. And Brian, I think there's it's not fear, but these drivers, they don't want to deviate from the portions of the track where there is the most grip. And of course, as these drivers have all been essentially taking the same path around lap after lap, there are portions of this track that are drying out. That said, when they come onto the front straight here, things are a little bit more safe, and we've got Derek Swager now, who has been closing things up on Mark Wiening for the last 3 laps. Takes a look to the inside, and he should be able to get the pass made. And I think he's going to find there's a lot more grip there down on the inside of that front straight than towards the center of the track or driver's left, where both David Dean and Mark Wiening were. And Derek Swager now going up into second, and he was
actually in the lead.
Into the lead now as David Dean falls back into third.
Yeah, I tell you, the sun is basically out down in turns 1 and 2, and so it's starting to dry up. The entry into turn number 1, and Swagger just, he saw it the last time by, tried to get down under Wiening before, couldn't make it stick, but he made it stick that time. And he picked up a 2 for 1, and he's starting to open up the gap a little bit now. So move David Dean back into third place.
And Brian, we're starting to see the clouds open up a little. Well, not open up. We're starting to see the sun come out down here in the carousel as well, and it looks like the amount of rain has slowed down considerably as our leaders now making their way past the white Mustang of Kincaid. And also, I think they've got the Datsun of John Jeffrey just ahead as they come up the hill. And now you see here David Dean having lots of challenges coming through turn 8. That Frank Buoni, now he's in a good spot, I think. If he decides to move down to the inside, he might be able to get past the Porsche. Now, as he's been lapping quite a bit faster, Buoni just turned in his fastest lap of the race, which was actually almost 2 seconds faster than the 3 cars ahead of him.
Yeah, and that would be the last podium spot there in that C production, or in that CP class. So again, all 4 of those cars not only battling for overall, but actually the win and second and third in the class. Got a little bit more speed going down in turn 1, as I've been mentioning. I've been looking out, like I said, through the binoculars here out the window, and they seem to be getting a little bit faster as the race is going on because the sun's been out longer there than it has, as you said, the sun coming out down on the backside of the racetrack here, longer there than it has on the back. So 24-year-old Philip Ackley still trying to tiptoe through the...
Well, I'm just glad he didn't pick up a year over the course of this race, because I know I would have gotten older over the course of this race.
Well, I'm sure if he got out and came up here, he would tell me he's 25, 26 by the time this race is over.
All right, as our leaders now heading into the carousel, we just take a quick look. There's Phil Ackley as he's continuing to make up some ground. And both Swager and Wiening continuing to gap our early leader, David Dean. As I think Dean is trying to deal with these mixed conditions here, especially as the track is drying out in some places. As Leon Hodges mentioned earlier during our Formula Ford race, this is the point where, as the oils that have been captured in the asphalt, as they move to the top, the track really does become quite slick, and you do need to find places where the track hasn't been polished down. A good friend of mine, John Burkhardt, used to use a haiku. He said, "Rain hides between stones," and essentially what he was trying to tell us was the most grip you're going to find is where people don't normally drive. Is Frank Buoni now coming underneath David Dean going into turn 1. Let's take a look as they come out from behind the trees and into the short chute. And there you go. Move the Datsun up into third place, getting around our pole sitter, David Dean.
I tell you what, he made one heck of a move, Greg, going down into turn 1. Found out where that grip is for his braking and got down into driver's right there to make that pass and make that stick. Great move knowing what he had going on the inside.
Yeah, I mean, and some of these drivers, they had all seen it. It's almost as if David Dean was the only one who recognized that there just wasn't that kind of grip there on the outside as there is on the inside.
Yeah, it looks like next time by, Swagger's going to get that 1 to go board. So, again, coming out of the carousel right there, we'll have 1 more lap to go.
Attention in the paddock, race group number 3. Race group 3, please head to the grid. Your race is next. Race group 3, it's our medium board drivers. This is your final call to the grid. As Derek Swigger and Mark Wiening now coming into the final corner onto the front straight. They've got just 10 more turns, 2 more miles to go. Wiening had reset fast lap just a moment ago, showing how much grip there is. And now Derek Swigger is going to reset the fast lap. Was about a 10th faster than Wiening in his 1971 machine. They're now working their last lap. Let's take a look and see. Let's check in on Ken Fitzgerald, who had that early spin down in the carousel after jumping out to an early lead. He's got that car back underway. He is currently running 6th overall and starting to find some pace now in the Lotus. He's starting to track down Philip Ackley. He's running about a couple tenths faster than the BMW ahead, but at this point with just a single lap to go, I think he's going to settle in to where he is over in 6th position. Jordan Beal in his Porsche 914 has fallen back in the 6th position, and he also with a nice little gap. He's about 5 seconds back from Fitzgerald, and he's got a good advantage on Langenberg's white Porsche 914. It looks like that's where he will finish up.
Tell you what, waiting for our leaders here, their last time through the carousel here for the weekend, unless they come out for the all-comers race here later on. But from this perspective, it does look like Derek Swigger's going to possibly pick up the win. We're going to see what happens if Mark Weining's going to make a move down in turn 10. Don't think he's going to be able to get to him.
You know, I'll tell you though, Frank Boney in the Datsun, I think he's got the best pace of the 3 of them right now. It's just going to be probably
2 laps too late.
Yeah, 2 laps too late for him here as our leaders come onto the front straight. Starter with the checkered flag in the air and taking the win in the big bore race today. Going to be Derek Swigger in his 1971 Porsche 911. Mark Wiening will finish 2nd, and there you go. I said it. Frederick Brony in his Datsun with the fastest lap of the race on the final lap. And Brian, he was over a 1.5 seconds faster than the Porsches ahead. Just a little bit too little, too late. David Dean will finish in 4th. Phil Ackley will finish 5th. That's going to add at least another year to his life. And Ken Fitzgerald finishes 6th. Jordan Beal in his 914 will finish 7th. Philip Langenberg will finish 8th. John Jeffrey in that beautiful red, white, and blue Cannon liveried Datsun 240Z will finish 9th. And Mike Kincaid, there he is in his Ford Mustang, crosses the line. He's going to round out the top 10. One remaining racer, and we'll pick him up here if we can in his Ford Mustang. Actually, I believe he already took the checker as he was a lap down.
Yeah, I think that's one of our 9. I think that's one of our 9. That's Philip Langberg.
Yep.
Coming up out of here.
Exactly.
Now,
well, I was thinking of Greg Smith, who actually only completed 2 laps before he pulled it in.
Yep.
So there you go. That's going to round out our big bore race. Next up, it's our medium bore racers, and they're going to be on track in just a few moments here at Summit Point Raceway. It is the 2026 Jefferson 500. Stay with us.
My name is Cameron McGuire. I'm from Monterey, California. I got into cars because I grew up around them. I grew up around a major Concours event and seeing all the people that would come together over such a simple creation, yet so complex. It's always intrigued me, and I've always liked seeing people get excited over those things. My interest in cars has kind of formed my career path because I've always been mechanically inclined and enjoyed using my hands. And my second passion is people, and I've seen cars as a tool to bring people together and help them learn and enjoy. I hope that one day my job can be owning a museum, that I could run a museum and research center that helps people of all interest levels dive deeper into vintage cars. The Piston Foundation has helped me kind of get started with this career path by providing the funds that help me get through this college. It's an expensive private institution, and so it costs more than most people are able to afford, but because of the Piston Foundation, I can continue to follow my dreams.
Willing and Able Racing offers top-quality spec race car rentals with full setup and repair services, including trackside support for SCCA, NASA, VRG, and other organizations' road race, time trials, and track day events. They're spec racer Ford specialists, and each of their Gen 3 machines sports a SATAV sequential transmission and a data acquisition system. Also offering spec Miata rentals, Willing and Able is currently taking reservations for the remainder of the Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series season. For more information, email Willing and Able at rent@WNARacing.com, see them on Instagram at WNA Racing, or visit their website at WNARacing.com. Willing and Able would like to thank all the volunteers this weekend who've graciously donated their time so that we may race.
Looking to level up your motorsport game? At Courage Motorsport, we've got everything you need, from high-performance parts and racing equipment to expert driving instruction and even our own Courage racing gear. Whether you're a beginner, a pro, or looking to kickstart your motorsport career with training in both the business of racing and securing sponsorships, we've got you covered. Check out our gear, grab a shirt, and represent your passion. Email us at trackready@couragemotorsport.com or visit couragemotorsport.com and get ready to hit the track.
It is the 2026 Jefferson 500 presented by the Vintage Racer Group. I'm Greg Ginsburg, Brian Donati, David Lance with me here. Got two more races on the day, and you know, gentlemen, as we've seen here, the rain, it comes, it goes, it's getting warmer, the winds go up, the winds go down, and that's just the way the weekend ebbs and flows. Next up is going to be our medium bore racers here, let's run down the starting order. Starting on pole today, driving the number 894 Performance Auto Works Porsche 911. That's a 1970 vintage car. It is Lenny Stan. Colin McLean in his Mazda Miata, scheduled to start on the outside of the front row. That's the number 90 car. Marcus Jones, first of our MGBs. That's a 1964 vintage, the number 95 car, starting in third. Jeff Baer in the 277 machine. That's a 1967 MGB. He's scheduled to start fourth. Wade Herron in the Rockhouse Mazda Miata will start in fifth today. Wanted to thank Wade for coming up to the booth. Had a lot of kind words for us. Zachary Lane in the left lane Vintage Motorsport 1966 MGB, scheduled to start sixth. Thomas Hunt, had a great conversation with Thomas and met his wonderful girlfriend last night at dinner. He is in the Group 66 Mazda Miata, the 06 car, starting in seventh position. David Bain in his Skydust Ski Motorsports Mazda Miata will start eighth, with Justin D'Antonio in the, well, we won't talk about the sponsor. Well, I guess we can. He said it's me, but he doesn't mean me. He means him. Justin is in a 1990 Mazda Miata, scheduled to start ninth. Starting 10th in his 1968 Triumph GT6, we've got Scott Jansen. KP, Kristen Poole, in her 1970 Porsche 914-6 will start 11th. That's the number 77 machine. Russ Rosenberg in the TX Coyote Racing 1971 Porsche 911 will start 12th. Michael Kurtz in the Good Parts Inc. Triumph TR6 starting lucky 13th, with Gary Jefferson in his Volvo P1800 starting in 14th position. Brian Cotter in a 1993 Mazda Miata, scheduled to start 15th, with Craig Seifert in the Jagoff Racing. Remember, I just read them, I don't write them. Starting in 16th position. Starting 17th, Mr. Paternity MacArthur in the Speedwell Racing Team Mazda Miata will start 17th. Steve Conson in the Citus Solutions MGB starting 18th. Joe Mills in the M&P Specialty Automotive Mazda Miata starting 19th. And rounding out the top 20 in the Solar Control Mazda Miata, the number 623 machine of Toby Yurko. We've got many other racers listed. We'll try to bring you down and give you a list of the drivers that have made the grid and have not made the grid. But first, the starter looking over the field now, and green flag is in the air. And as he's done all weekend long, Brian, Lenny Stan, that beautiful 1970 Porsche 911, prepared by the folks right here at Summit Point Performance Auto Works, leads the field into turn number one.
Yeah, definitely got a good start out of there. Now we're going to go to Wade Herron and Colin McLean. They're going to go side by side down into turn number one. I tell you what, give that spot to Herron, as he's going to make a great move down the inside there. Let's see whether or not he's going to be able to hold off McLean. Remember, McLean had that problem yesterday during the race because of the rain. Spun a couple times and worked his way all the way back up, I believe, up into the top 10 in that group. But again, Herron moving in front of Colin McLean in second, Justin D'Antonio third. I believe Kristen Poole is going to move up. We had a couple of those MGBs not take the green flag today, so that moved everybody up a couple of rows.
Well, there you go. Going back to what Peter Krause said about little British cars, and maybe the guys and the women in the Italian and the German cars have a little bit more guts out here. As there she is, Krista Poole in that beautiful silver and orange 914-6. Got a chance to talk to KP, who is the Sports Car Club of America's Director of Marketing. She's out here racing this weekend, and great to have her out here as she comes down from Pennsylvania. All right, good battles throughout the field. We've got our contingent of 75 red Miatas out here once again, and good start for Craig Seifert, for Joe Mills. Let's see, who else is in a red Miata out here? Oh, of course, Justin D'Antonio, who you mentioned as well.
Brian Cotter.
Yeah, so many of them here, and T. Wade Herron jumping out. And speaking of KP, coming onto the front straight, she gets around the 51 machine now to move up another position. That is the Paternity MacArthur machine, so move the 51 car back into 12. Couple drivers not making the grid, Brian, here with a lap in the books. Actually, it looks like Thomas Hunt not taking the grid. Marcus Jones in the MGB, as you mentioned, Jeff Baer, Zach Lane, all of our MGB racers. How dare they? Thomas Hunt, David Baines not making the grid. Scott Jansen in his Triumph GT6 not joining us here this morning. Russ Rosenberg in his Porsche 911 and Michael Kurtz in his Triumph TR6. that beautiful Volvo P1800 in the Swedish flag livery. With the baby blue and yellow not making the grid today. Toby Yurko not making the grid. Jada Paul, Alan Boyd Wagner, Chris Longo, Bob Schaefer, and I think Lisa Pollock as well. John Scott, Kathy Leidick. This is what I say. I say all these wonderful things about Italian and German car drivers. Kathy Leidick in her Alfa Romeo not making the grid. Darn. The Mazda Miata Marcus Thompson. And then Butch Connor in his MGB. I saw Butch this morning here in the tower, and he also has not brought the 102 car out, but I also think he said that the rain tires he had for that car were almost as old as I am.
Yep.
So 6 years old.
I was going to say at least 7. But
right.
Tell you what, good battle there. Justin D'Antonio and Brian Cotter as they were coming up out of the carousel. Now you can see them just now going down into turn number 1. D'Antonio getting in front of Brian Cotter. I tell you what, they were side by side through turn 7 and turn 8, a place you really don't want to go side by side, but they were both able to make that and get that through there pretty quickly.
All right, we've got one driver coming down the pit lane now, calling it an early day. That's Steve Conson in his MGB. I guess somebody told him that the little British cars shouldn't be out in these conditions. So he brings the car down the pit lane.
Well, we're starting to pretty much dry out.
Yeah.
You know, unless he's got a major, challenge or something wrong with that car. The track is looking to be pretty dry as we go back onto this. Go back to Justin D'Antonio and Brian Cotter. They're still in an unsettled position. They both want the same position. That's going to be 4th overall. That's 4th and 5th.
And Craig Seifert, as those two fight, Craig Seifert in the red number 4, he's coming on strong as well. And that last time by, Seifert was, he was lapping a little bit faster than the two racers ahead. Picked up about a 1/10 of a second there. We'll see what happens now.
Got a good battle up there as well, getting ready to come down the start-finish line here. Actually, that's Colin McLean along with Wade Herron.
Yeah.
They just go by the start-finish line down into turn 1. Even those two Miatas are side by side. Seems like some unsettled business back in here with them between our Miata drivers all day today.
Yeah, and so I was talking to, we were talking to Wade Herron this morning before we went on air, and what he mentioned was that these cars, they can't run the same tires that they run in current SCCA fashion, where they're typically Hoosier tires. They're DOT approved, but I would say like a 40 treadwear rating. Sure. They're very sticky tires that they're running. They're actually running a hand-cooked rain tire, even in the dry weather conditions on these cars. So, big tread blocks and not a lot of contact.
Chunks of rubber coming off that.
And that's exactly what he said. So, Wade's been vintage racing now for over 20 years, and he says his accomplishments. Don't tell me you think highly of yourself, but my accomplishments go back decades.
Yeah.
He was PCA. He had the Porsche Club of America Hard Charger Award and Workers' Choice Award many years ago, and also held the Porsche Club of America GT4 and V4U, that's vintage class, track records here at Summit Point. And of course, we've seen him in the last couple of years as he's come out and campaigned this same Mazda Miata in the Spec Miata class in the Sports Car Club of America. And he said he got started because his dad brought him out to the racetrack many years ago to see Porsche Potomac, PCA Potomac, the founders region of the Porsche Club of America. And he's been racing now. The general contractor's been racing for over 30 years.
Got one car here that pulled off through the cutout. I'm not sure if that, it's kind of hard to see if that is the blue Mazda RX-7 of Thomas Beverly in the 4B. It looks like that's what it is, pulled down. It looks like he's got a problem back in that.
Yeah, and I think it probably is. He's showing his lap down at this point, Brian. So that kind of makes sense.
That is exactly who it is. So, yep. That is Thomas Beverly. So again, he's in the cutout here, right behind the tower. So they're going to pull him back through. Definitely looking at that right rear. So having some right rear damage or something came off the right rear of that car.
Seemingly everybody here at Summit Point Raceway in the last couple of days has had tire issues.
Yeah.
Tires going down. You know, we talked a little bit earlier about our Formula Ford racer having some issues with that. Oh my gosh! All of a sudden now his name is escaping me. In the blue Formula Ford, we see him all the time in SCCA racing. You're going to help me here, of course, or maybe you won't. And of course my tire issues driving around Summit Point here.
We have a lot of drivers that have tire issues.
Yes,
around
exactly.
here. And again, I think we're, 7.5, almost 8 years since we did the repay? Did we do the repay?
Yeah,
it's 17, I
it was
think,
like
17,
16 or
18?
17, yeah.
So, again, this track building up. But again, you talked about, what the tires they're using on these Miatas as well. And so, you get where you get chunks of tires come up, that will affect, number one, the handling of the car, but it also will handle stuff kind of coming up underneath the bottom of the back of the car, and then you start to hear noises, and you think there's really something wrong there.
And by the way, I was thinking of Wayne Nicolette, who
Oh,
had
yeah.
the
tire issue on
tire
Friday.
and
Yep.
rear suspension issues
Yep.
on Friday.
Yep. Good bat a little bit further back here. John Sider, Curtis Fredericks, a little bit.
Black Miata, orange Miata.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can pick
They're
them
not
out.
red, so they're
Yeah,
just now
exactly.
coming out of turn number 2.
Yeah,
right
I was
there.
going to say, I think they're coming out of 1, going into 2 now. And, well, that's certainly not an orange car.
Well, now he's back there a little
he's
bit further
back in the
back, but
group
these two
behind.
here just got by him the lap before. John Sider in that 73, that RP Performance Miata. So they were battling early on and then ended up getting around and trying to open that up a little bit.
Right.
And he's trying to get by, Joe Mills, actually Dave Rashudo, Dan Rashudo
and the Paternity MacArthur machine as well.
Yeah, I thought at one point they were going to go 3 wide when they went down into turn 1, but they got back in front and got in line with Rashudo and Arthur kind of leading John Sider in that number 73. So, but again, you can see here comes Curtis Fredericks now. He's starting to make the move and really gain, as that's where he was up in there right on that back bumper of that 73 machine a lap before. So that orange Miata, that number 198, starting to reel in that 73.
Yeah, and he's lapping almost 2.5 seconds faster than the cars ahead right now. So nice 4-car fight here. The being led right now by the 8 MGB of Dan Rashudo. It's a 1972 chassis to MGB. And if you ask what car, well, it certainly is a car that belongs here at Vintage Racing, but being chased down by 3 Miatas. and they make power in such different ways. The Miatas have quite a bit more. You think of modern day racing where they are true momentum cars at 1.6 liters. They don't have a lot of torque. They don't have a lot of horsepower. They're usually capped out about 120 wheel horsepower, but they've got so much displacement over that MGB that they can dig out of corners in ways that the MGB certainly cannot.
Yeah. We talk about Dan Rashudo. One of the things is how he got started racing. Well, it ends up, I guess he can blame his wife because she catered a VIP tent at the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix. And
Somebody
when
called
he
Joe
hit there,
Templitz.
he was hooked. And he looked up to guys like Kenny Williamson, Craig Seifert, and Mike Zappa. All have fast MGBs, and so he got hooked up back in there. So if there's ever a chance when it comes to racing and spending money, that's the perfect opportunity to blame the wife because she was the one who decided to cater the VIP tent. His other racing experiences, not so legal drag racing. So out of the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. So again, lot of time in that 1973 MGB. So,
all right, as we check back in with our Miata and MGB, And let's check in now here as we've got our overall leader, Lenny Stan, making his way through the field, and he's lapping up almost to the mid-pack now, Brian.
Yeah, he's going to come up on that battle that we were just talking about with the Rashudo, MacArthur, Sider, and Fredericks as well, along with with Dan, like I said, with Rashudo. He's going to catch that field here in probably in about a lap or two with about 6 minutes. Yeah, with about 6 minutes to go here, so which is a little bit shorter than a New York minute.
All right, well, let's do this, Brian, as we do have about 6. What are we looking at? Actually, a little bit under 5 minutes remaining. Let me make a call to the grid for our last race of the morning. Attention in the paddock, race group number 4, small bore and Formula V racers, please head to the grid. Race group 4, small bore and Formula V racers, please head to the grid. Your race is next.
There is the 894, the Porsche 911 of Lenny Stan. As I said, he's going to come up on the back of this 4 group here as they're just now getting down into turn number 1 right there. Lenny Stan about, I'd say, not even half the straightaway behind them. So these guys are going to have to get it worked out and get into single file if they don't want to.
Don't want to upset Lenny Stan.
Yeah, you don't want to upset
Don't want to fear to have to deal with the wrath of Lenny Stan going into turn 1. What's he going to do?
Well, what's he going to do? He just went the fastest lap of the race right there with a 1:33.16. So again, when you have that open track and you've got that clean air, that's going to help you get through there.
All right, should note Kristen Poole now in her Porsche 911. She's now moved up in the 4th position overall. I think that's probably where she's going to stay. She is about 20 seconds back from the Miata duo of Wade Herron and Colin McLean, but she's opened up a nice little advantage over Brian Cotter in the 158 machine, and good run for her as she was originally, again, if we had our full contingent of racers, she was originally scheduled to start 11th in the field today. Yeah. She started Friday's race. Actually, she did not make Friday's race. She didn't go out until yesterday morning, and she started at the very back of this field. And so she's worked her way now all the way up over the course of 3 different races, and a good run for that 914.
Blame her current work company not allowing her to take Friday off.
No, I think she was working. They were having some challenges with the car.
Tell you what, another good battle going on here, and again, this is in that E-production class. Wade Herron and Colin McLean, they are back nose to tail again. Going down into turn number 1 right here. That's green Miata with the red one. Colin got a great run off of turn number 10 last time by, Greg, and I really thought he was going to make the pass, but Wade Herron just decided, well, I'm not going to just give it to you. I'm going to make you work for it, and he kind of held the line there. He was predictable, and McLean had to get back in line.
Yeah, you scared me for a moment there when you said Colin McRae because I thought he was back from
from
above.
Yeah.
But that would have been amazing to have noted British rally car driver Colin McRae joining us here. Plus, I would have expected him to be in. Be in a Citroen or be in a Citroen or maybe a Subaru. I wouldn't have expected him to be in be in a Mazda Miata. But again, great fight here today, and Wade said he was looking forward to the changing conditions. He had a lot of fun in the wet yesterday. He said.
Yeah. Well, I think we're pretty much dried out now. The paint, on the curbing probably still a little bit damp, so you want to stay off of there. But for the most part, this track is pretty much dry.
Yeah.
Which goes back to what we talked about with Wade there, early, right before they decided to, before they went out. And that is these tires start chunking off after a while.
Yeah, exactly. There's just not, and you just have to, be gentle with them in the dry conditions to make sure that, to make sure that if it started to rain again, that you still got them underneath you. But they don't. You give inputs, and the Miata really, you're benefited by having very smooth inputs with that car. They're very neutral handling, but you can't chuck them in the corners.
Yeah.
And and as he was saying, that you give an input with these tires, and it takes, like a couple milliseconds longer than it is with the tires that he normally runs. But again, he's had so many years of vintage racing. This is old hat for him.
Sure. Yep. Well, two things here. Lenny Stan, next time by, he's going to get the one to go. And I just was watching the screen when you were doing it. Rashudo and MacArthur, they were kind of nose to tail. MacArthur tried to pull out and make a pass coming out of turn 2 over Dan Rashudo. Wasn't able to get that completed. Rashudo kind of cut and chopped the nose off there going up into turn 3. MacArthur, well, he just gave them the flash of the lights.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Okay, here comes the lights, and then all of a sudden put it back down. To either say, "Yep, no problem," or
just
hey,
the opposite.
that was not the preferred move. So here goes Lenny Stan back crossing the start-finish line. He is now completing his very last lap. Wade Herron and Colin McRae should be coming up.
McLean,
sorry.
There's now a black cloud directly over the third floor.
Even I'm doing the same
broadcast center here. Yeah. All right, Brian, real quick, let me make a final call for our next group. If it's raining, it's right over our heads because of that. All right, final call to the grid for race group number 4, small bore and Formula V racers. Please head to the grid. Your race starting in just a few moments. Race group number 4. This is your final call to the grid for small bore and Formula V.
As Lenny Stan gets all the way down into turn 5, the next couple cars that are coming here, that is the Rashudo MacArthur Fredericks there. But now you got to throw in, here comes McLean and Herron, right? They're going to come in the back of this as they're working their last lap as well. So they're trying to put them a lap down, but also trying to defend who's going to pick up that win in that E-production.
All right, as we jump back over to Lenny Stan, who's got just one more corner here. It's been a very successful weekend for Lenny Stan in his 1970 Porsche 911. He's won every single race he has run this weekend, including this one here, as the checkered flag is in the air. Lenny Stan, your winner. Coming out of the final corner now, door to door handle to door handle, Wade Herron, Colin McLean, and as they come to the line, Wade Herron will take the win over Colin McLean. They're going to finish second and third overall. And McLean, he had some challenges there as they were trying to find a way, both drivers trying to find a way around Dan Rashudo. And Wade Herron with the jump, with the checkered flag. There you go. Kristen Poole will finish in 4th in her 9:14.6 as she's on the front straight now. And coming into view of the starter stand, checkered flag is in the air. Congratulations to her as Brian Cotter will finish in 5th. Justin D'Antonio will finish 6th. Here come all the red Miatas at one time. Anyway, so everybody's in a red Miata.
Yep,
red Miata for you and for you and to you. Yep. So Cotter, D'Antonio, Craig Seifert, Joe Mills, Dan Rashudo had already taken the checkered flag. The patented MacArthur car, John Cedar, Curtis Fredericks coming across the line now. Just had Tom Levy and Scott Birkland in his Porsche 911. Craig Miller and Manny Bansell with Tom will round out the drivers finishing up this race on track as we watch them now coming under the bridge and onto the front straight for them. Unfortunately, Tom Beverly and Steve Conson only completing 2 laps and 1 lap respectively as our final racers take the checkered flag. All right, we've got one more race for you here this morning from Summit Point Raceway, and the 2026 Jefferson 500 starts to wind down. Stay with us, and we'll be right back.
My name is Tara Feeney, and I'm from Scottsdale, Arizona. So I first got into cars because I kind of grew up in a car family. My grandpa was a car collector, so I grew up around classic cars. And then I just figured out that that's what I loved, it's what I was passionate about, so I stuck with it. So I wanted to work on classic cars as a career after doing it in high school and realizing that I was super happy at that job and super fulfilled, and I just was passionate about keeping history on the road. I would love to be an engine technician, and my hope one day is to open my own shop. The Piston Foundation has helped me by allowing me to focus on college instead of worrying about my finances and has been instrumental in my success.
Willing and Able Racing offers top-quality spec race car rentals with full setup and repair services, including trackside support for SCCA, NASA, VRG, and other organizations' road race, time trials, and track day events. They're spec racer Ford specialists, and each of their Gen 3 machines sports a SATAV sequential transmission and a data acquisition system. Also offering spec Miata rentals, Willing and Able is currently taking reservations for the remainder of the Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series season. For more information, email Willing and Able at rent@WNARacing.com, see them on Instagram at WNA Racing, or visit their website at WNARacing.com. Willing and Able would like to thank all the volunteers this weekend who've graciously donated their time so that we may race.
Looking to level up your motorsport game? At Courage Motorsport, we've got everything you need, from high-performance parts and racing equipment to expert driving instruction and even our own Courage racing gear. Whether you're a beginner, a pro, or looking to kickstart your motorsport career with training in both the business of racing and securing sponsorships, we've got you covered. Check out our gear, grab a shirt, and represent your passion. Email us at trackready@couragemotorsport.com or visit couragemotorsport.com and get ready to hit the track.
It is the 2026 Jefferson 500. It's our final race of the day here from Summit Point Raceway. It's our small bore and Formula V racers as they take to the track for their 2-mile, 10-turn, not 10-mile, 2-turn pace lap. Now, let's run down the starting order. Starting on pole, scheduled to start on pole in the Vintage Racing Services 1963 Triumph Spitfire, David Gussek. Andrew Moore in his Austin Healey Sprite scheduled to start on the outside of the front row, with Robert Anderson's Vitesse Sports Racer starting third. Starting fourth in the 1967 MG Midget, we've got Larry Smith with Tom Brown in his 1964 Spitfire scheduled to start fifth. Peter Ustavinis in his Mako 1964 MG Midget, probably the best painted car out here. He is going to start sixth, with Terry Lippincott in the Lippincotts Garage 1967 MG Midget starting in seventh. Starting eighth, Chris Johnson in his Caldwell D13. We saw that car a little bit earlier this morning. And then we've got starting ninth on the inside of row number 5, driving the number 72, 1972 MG Midget. It's Elliott Golden. Michael Zappa in his TVR Vixen, scheduled to start 10th, with Ryan Adkins in the 1966 Beach Racing Cars machine, starting in 11th position, with Steve Hershett in his 1965 Austin Healey Sprite starting 12th. Doug Zink in his Zink Z5 will start 13th, with Robert O'Connor also in his Zink Z5 starting 14th. Mac McCormick in his 1966 Morris Mini Cooper starting in 15th position, with Niall McCabe in his MG Midget, sponsored by Linda, starting 16th. Starting 17th, we've got Alex Sheffer in the 1964 Mini Cooper, starting 17th, and starting 18th, William Jones in his 1974 Alpha GTV, starting 18th. Rounding out row number 10, we've got Marcus Jones in his Zink C4 Formula V machine, and Heather Richards in the Jake Stable 1968 MG Midget. That is your top 20. Let's run through a few more here, because we got the White House Racing Bug-Eye Sprite of Michael White. Scott Kreisler in his 1967 MG Midget starting 22nd. Connor Burns in that beautiful 1951 MGTD starting 23rd, with Claude Gagne in the 1966 Spitfire starting 24th. And then rounding out the top 25, Gary Wagner in the East Tennessee Race Prep Morris Cooper starting 25th. As the starter looks over the field, and green flag is in the air, and jumping out to an early start here, it's Andrew Moore, as our pole sitter Gusak did not make the grid. Peter Ustavinis in second, Tom Brown and Steve Hershett leading the field as they head down into turn number 1 for the very first time for our very last race of the day. Brian,
tell you what, they were side by side there for a brief moment. You also talked about Robert Anderson. He is starting shotgun on the field, as he is all the way in the very back of this field, so he looks like he's going to try to work his way up through there. But again, Andrew Moore and Peter Uzdevis in Thomas Brown, that's your top 3. They're starting to get a little bit spread out there. It looks like we've got a lot of vehicles, Greg, or a lot of race cars, Greg, that did not take the green flag here. So when we get them to come back by, we'll tell you who's there and who's not. But everybody seems to be getting single-filed out right now as they come down into turn number 5. But Andrew Moore, your early leader. And I tell you what, Mac McCormick in that 109, in that Mini Cooper, looks really strong early on.
All right, we do have, I was looking to see which Formula Vs joined us here for this race. Again, we had the Caldwell machine going out a little bit earlier today in, I think, our very first race of the day. But I think we do have a couple of the Zinks joining us in the field there. There's at least one of them now coming out of turn 8 and up the hill. But great fights here early on as this track really, Brian, starting to dry out. And yes, my beloved MGTD there is in the field. Good to see that. Good to see that. Number 1, and a big line here now as they come across the line. And yeah, there you go. There is that beautiful 283 car. I can swear that the numbers there are hand painted on the doors as they did back in the day. But love that Connor.
I was going to say that wouldn't surprise me if they are hand painted on there. That is a very nice paint job that he has, and pretty much as you just mentioned, back in the day, that is how they did it. Everything was painted. Nothing was wrapped back then.
All right, we've got Mike H in the chat here asking whether or not they do a 24-hour race at Summit Point, and to the best of my knowledge, no. Of course, we used to have the 12 hours at the point here many years ago at Summit Point. There's some other endurance organizations that run, but certainly nothing along the lines of 24 hours. And Mike also asking about the pace car. Of course, we've had a couple pace cars here over the course of the weekend. The one pacing our very last group, provided by former SCCA National Pit Worker of the Year, Tom McLeod, and that is an MGB. Or probably not an MGB, it's an MGA. I'm sorry, not an MGB.
I'm sure you'll get a phone call here in a minute.
I'm sure his wonderful wife Kathy McLeod.
Well, he's packing
Tom
up
wouldn't
down
care. Tom wouldn't care if I screwed it up. Kathy, on the other hand, another former SCCA National Steward of the Year, Kathy McLeod, I'm sure will be by me.
He's down there getting ready to pack up his stuff, so he didn't hear you. I saw him walking around down there. So again, as most of these drivers, again, we talk about Robert Anderson now. He is just now going by Connor Burns in that 283. So again, watching Robert Anderson start from the rear of the field here, see how many positions he's able to make up here, because, Robert Anderson, he was always starting in the top 3 all weekend long. And I think he did this last year, Greg, where the last race of the weekend, he started from the very back.
But if you remember on our first race for this group on Friday afternoon, he actually started from the very back of the pack, and with, I think, 1 lap to go, made a pass to take the overall lead. Just kind of sat back there and wait in second position for like 3 or 4 laps, and then, as if shot out of a cannon with 2 miles remaining or 10 miles remaining, he jumped out to the lead. Yeah. But always great to see that Vitesse. As Mr. Anderson, he is an import-export executive coming over originally from, I believe, Sweden, and both he and his son racing. I don't believe his son is out here today, but typically he and his son would race in the same group. His son running in a Mini Cooper over the past number of years here at VRG.
Yep. Just want to let everybody know, we did get pretzels.
Yes.
It took us till this morning, but we got our pretzels. They will be gone here shortly. The minute we do go off, we're going to be eating those pretzels.
So here's a great one. Let's see if we can find Tom Brown in his. Tom's currently running third in the Blue Triumph Spitfire.
Just now coming out of turn 2, heading up into turn 3.
Into turn 3.
Right
there is Mr. Brown here, and this is his 30th year. Would you believe it, Brian? Vintage racing. He's a private investor out of Tierra Verde, Florida, and knowing that he's a private investor, this should tell you all you needed to know. He started racing young, ran out of money, went to Wall Street, and there he's back. And he said the car that he's racing right now, he calls it Old Blue, this 64 Spitfire. It's been a race car since the 70s. And he says he remembers seeing it when he was racing some other stuff. It was a 2023 SVRA Group 3 Enduro and Sprint champion. So nice provenance for that very beautifully prepared Triumph Spitfire.
Yeah, that car's over the last couple of years that we've been covering this has been, always up at the front. So Thomas Brown running quite well in that Triumph Spitfire.
All right, so a couple of the drivers, actually a large list of drivers not making the grid here for our final race. Of course, our pole sitter, or scheduled pole sitter, David Gussack, in his Triumph Spitfire, the number 88 machine not making the grid, nor did Terry Lippincott. Chris Johnson in Chris Formula V, the Cadwell. Actually, that's the car that we saw, I think, in our very first race of the day.
Yeah.
And maybe Chris had some other plans this afternoon. They made some allowances for him to run early on. Michael Zappa in his TVR Vixen not making the grid, nor Ryan Adkins. Both Doug Zink and Robert O'Connor, the two Zink drivers, not making the grid, nor did Alex Sheffer, William Jones, Michael White, Gary Wagner, Russ Jones, Dave Gibson, Scott Buriak, we know William Basley had some issues. Actually, we saw Basley earlier this morning as well. In the 188 Austin Healy.
Oh, big brake lock.
I think that's more than a brake lockup, Brian.
That is motor going into turn. Actually, it is the rear end The right rear
It looks like
tire
it's collapsed.
is buckled up underneath that car. Yeah, that is not a good position there as Robert Anderson was getting ready to make the move on Niall McCabe in that 909, in that MG, and that rear end just basically folded up underneath there. I tell you what.
All right, so Brian, they're going to want to get that car removed as quickly as possible, given that he's in a pretty dangerous area on the exit of turn 3. So I think we're going to be going to a full course caution here momentarily, as we see it again, kind of house rules here and there. There you go, full course caution now with about 10.5 minutes remaining in this race. So as we check in here, it's Andrew Moore in his Sprite leading the field, Peter Ustavinis, Tom Brown, Elliott Golden, Steve Hershett, Mac McCormick, Marcus Jones, Larry Smith. There, Niall McCabe, Robert Anderson, and rounding out your top 10. As we've got some of our emergency vehicles now deploying and heading on their way out to retrieve Mr. Anderson's
I
beautiful
believe that
Vitesse.
is going to take a flatbed to get that car up. Because
Yeah,
of that way that
agreed.
rear end is sitting there. Especially on that right rear that's folded up underneath the bodywork, of that car, of that Vitesse.
All right, so we're tracking now down as David giving a little time behind the magic buttons to bring up all of our views today. I want to thank David Lance for filling in doing that today. He's picked up Andrew Moore and Peter Ustavinis now that are leading the field as they come underneath the bridge. And we've got heading on to the pit lane now, Brian. Is that the Ustavinis machine?
No, that's not the Ustavinis. That's, I'm not sure. That's not the Scott Chrysler machine.
Chrysler machine. Yeah, I think that's the Chrysler car.
Be able to see. It looks like he's going to go down and make the right turn.
Yeah, he's going to head back.
So we'll be able to pick up the number when it comes in, but I'm almost positive that's exactly who it is.
I think you're right that's possibly the Chrysler.
No, that's a 53 machine.
Okay.
So that's David Smith.
Smith, got it. All right, well, he's going to head back to the paddock. So Andrew Moore, Peter Ustavinis now at the front of the field. And Ustavinis, I don't know if we've talked about Peter here. He's been racing for 27 years. He's been vintage racing for all but one of them, Brian. And he previously had won the SVRA Competition Director Award as well as the Collier Cup. And says he got into vintage racing in the late 90s as he used to watch the old Blue-Gray Challenge here at Summit Point for many years. And Donna Mae Mims, who is a former SCCA national champion, and I think H Production, was his former crew chief and mentor. And so great to see it. The midget itself that he's racing, he says, was never registered to drive on the road. It was a long-time SCCA car, and he said Group 44, of course, known worldwide here for, and of course, just had Bob Tullius pass away just a few weeks ago. They installed the main roll cage and roll bar in that car. It was upgraded to a 1275 from the original 1098 motor about 10 years ago. And I knew that I had seen this car before. Our good friend Gary Callahan, one of the Turn 5 crew, part of Team Twisted. I didn't see Gary here this weekend, but he's typically still out here for Mars races. That is a car that Gary Callahan used to campaign here at Summit Point for a number of years.
And we've got all of our cars now coming down out of turn number 10 again. Andrew Moore is going to be leading that group. Got a couple of the cars that are lapped kind of in between there, but really what that is going to do is that's going to bring everybody back to the fold. They're still trying to get this car loaded up and picked up and put on the flatbed. Looks like tow truck's going to try to pick it up again because of the damage there on that right rear where it buckled up underneath it. You can see the emergency workers there trying to lift that car up. Going to get it up, put it just basically pick it up and put it right up on the flatbed there. That's the easiest way to hopefully get that thing up in the air. to do that rather than trying to drag it up onto the, up onto the flatbed. So some of the emergency workers having to sit on the back of that car as that gets lifted up in order to kind of raise that front end there. We were just getting ready to see that. But all of our cars that are remaining on the racetrack should be able to catch up to each other as we go by that incident right there. Again, great job everybody slowing down enough to do that. And, it was unfortunate there, Greg, because Robert, like I said, was just getting ready to make the pass on the 909 of Niall McCabe. And as he went down into turn number 3, you saw the smoke there where that right rear or the axle in there just kind of buckled or maybe even broke, on the right side of that car. And good for Robert to be able to get that thing slowed down because he really didn't get a chance to get on the brake all that much. The car kind of slowed down by itself. So, again, could have been a product of a lot worse. But as I said, great for Robert to be able to slow that car down enough to just put it right there just into the gravel trap, not so much into, and it looks like they're going to just tow the whole thing back instead of just doing it. But trying to see if our cameras can pick up the picture there, Greg, to see what really broke on it. But it's going to be kind of hard to tell.
Well,
from
now
here,
that it's in the air.
Well, that's what I was trying to look at.
It's got a flat bottom there. You can't see you can't really see the pickup points on the suspension of that Vitesse. I mean, even going back to the early 70s, what they were doing to control the air underneath that car, pretty forward-thinking Fords there. It is the emergency services teams go back and get that car back as our leaders now coming onto the front straight. They're going to do at least one more lap here, it appears, under full course caution. Although we've seen, Brian, here, in order to move things along and knowing that we only have a little bit over 4 minutes remaining on the clock, they may drop the full course caution at some point where this pack is maybe somewhere else on the straights that they can go back to racing, rather than making them go another full 2 miles.
Yeah, around. another 2 miles would be, a good another 2.5 minutes, and it does look like we are going to go a complete lap here, Greg.
Okay.
So we're not going to get that green until they come back around the next time by. So again, this is going to take about 1.5 minutes, so they're probably going to get 1, maybe 2 laps after we go back to green. I would suspect, looking at the time, probably 1 lap.
Yeah. All right, and again, this is our final race of the day. Brian, as they're coming through, why don't we quickly here, I just want to bring up the schedule of events that the Vintage Racer Group has coming up over the course of the rest of the season. They're going to be at the Vintage Festival at Thompson in just about a month. And, of course, some wonderful events. I think new this year is the Glasstown Speed Fest at New Jersey Motorsports Park. I think that is new to the schedule this year. And, of course, we had Joe Teplitz talking about the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix and all the wonderful things that happen around that event. But lots of great vintage racing all year long presented by the Vintage Racer Group. And we hope to be back with you come November for the Turkey Bowl, the way a very, very low-key event here to round out the season, but always incredibly popular, not just with the vintage racers, but we invite some of the more modern race cars for that event as well. So we hope that you'll join us. All right, as our leaders now coming underneath the bridge and into turn number 10, Andrew Moore leading the field, and the starter looks over the field, and green flag is now in the air. And once again, Brian, we're going to go racing. We've got 2 minutes on the clock, so hopefully 2 laps for these racers.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get 2 of them in. Again, it's going to be, so the next time they come by, they're going to get the 1 to go. So we get here, the next time Andrew Moore comes by, finish line, he's going to get that 1 to go. So pretty much about a full lap and a half, if you think about it, or really 2.
Yeah, and and our race control folks have been doing such a good job, I think, in trying to maximize the amount of time behind the wheel and the racing time that these racers have been getting. Great move going down into turn 1. We had the blue midget of Larry Smith getting around Marcus Jones's car there as they headed off into turn 2. And Marcus, let me see, I think I have some information on Marcus.
He's the only Formula V out there in that zinc C4.
Yeah.
So, again, Marcus, again, trying to get everything he can out of this car.
And as I said, he got around Larry Smith, who's been vintage racing now for 22 years, a retired conservation ecologist out of Richmond, and the blue midget that he's racing said he got it off of a driver out on the West Coast. He bought it as a basket case, Brian. Don't all racers, when they buy, whether it's advertised as one or not, all cars seemingly that you buy here at this level are basket cases, and he said he's built it up to be a competitive car, and I think he's indeed done a very good job with that. As he's running in the FP class here today, and he is currently running 4th in FP. But given that he's got Andrew Moore and Thomas Brown and Elliott Golden ahead of him, I think that basket case is running pretty strong this weekend.
Tell you what, good battle right here. Good way to capture this, David. Mac McCormick and Larry Smith. Larry Smith's going to get ahead of Mac McCormick. Mac coming off of turn 10 had a little bit of a gap. Larry kind of went a little bit wider than I think he really wanted to. Got over those rumble strips coming out of turn 10 last time. Car got a little unsettled, but he was able to regroup that car. Went down the past the start-finish line down into turn 1. Was able to make that pass, but good run by Larry Smith in that number 26 in another of the MG midget.
See, a basket case wouldn't have been able to make that.
Yeah, correct, right?
And looks like he just puts up a little bit of rear brake lockup going into turn 5. Just saw a cloud of smoke from him on one of our other monitors here. A good run for him. All right, as our leader now, Andrew Moore comes onto the front straight. He's going to get the 1 to go board. 2 more miles, 10 more turns for him and the rest of the field here. Let's check in as he gets, well, actually, they're going to give him the checkered flag, Brian.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
okay, not one more lap. There we go. And so checkered flag is out on Moore, Dennis Brown, Elliott Golden now coming to the line. And Steve Hershett will as well, the 26 machine. Larry Smith actually coming out ahead of Mac McCormick.
Yep. Made that pass going into turn 1 last time by.
Exactly.
So, with 1 lap to go.
Yeah, so there you go. So the first Mini Cooper to cross the line is Mac McCormick in the white 109 machine. And then our Formula V racer, Marcus Jones, Heather Richards, and then Niall McCabe will round out the top 10. All right, well, gentlemen, and here, let's unmute David, just because we want to hear his voice. Want to thank everybody here for joining us this weekend. Brian, of course, thank you as always, having you a partner. And David, great job. Your very first Jefferson 500. Why don't you give us a little? What do you think of your first vintage race?
I'm hooked. I've been here, a couple of times for the Turkey Bowl, but this event, the Turkey Bowl is nowhere near what I've experienced this weekend with the Jefferson 500. It's really cool to come out here and see these see these vintage cars, race against stuff, that was basically the highlights of the 70s, 80s, 60s. And I'm used to coming here for a lot of modern machines. So really love this event. Excited for next year.
All right. As our field now working their way on their cool-down lap, the last cool-down lap of the Jefferson 500. Of course, if you like what you've seen here this weekend, we ask you to please give us a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the VRG YouTube channel. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscriptions this weekend. And, of course, if you go and subscribe, we'll tell you every single time that we go live. So want to thank a number of people that have helped us put on our broadcast here this weekend. Of course, Jim Karamanis and Cal Trumbo from the Vintage Racer Group, our race directors here with the Jefferson 500. Joe Teplitz, the race director for the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix. Of course, that is July 18th and 19th. And for more information, you can go to pvgp.org. We want to thank Ian Wisbon. He is the president of the Vintage Racer Group, providing so much assistance both pre and during our races here this weekend. Bill Stoller, Vintage Race Car Photographer Supreme. Check out his online photo galleries of the Jefferson 500s past as well as present, and many other VRG events, as well as the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix. Head on over to billstoller.com. Peter Kraus, you can find out about his methodology and his racing coaching services at gofasternow.com. And, of course, Denny Austin, Leon Hodges Austin, and Frank Del Vecchio for all of their announcing expertise as well. So for Brian Donati, for David Lance, I'm Greg Ginsburg. We want to thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you come this fall at the Turkey Bowl. Thanks so much for joining us.
My name is Cameron McGuire. I'm from Monterey, California. I got into cars because I grew up around them. I grew up around a major Concours event and seeing all the people that would come together over such a simple creation, yet so complex. It's always intrigued me, and I've always liked seeing people get excited over those things. My interest in cars has kind of formed my career path because I've always been mechanically inclined and enjoyed using my hands. And my second passion is people. And I've seen cars as a tool to bring people together and help them learn and enjoy. I hope that one day my job can be owning a museum, that I could run a museum and research center that helps people of all interest levels dive deeper into vintage cars. The Piston Foundation has helped me kind of get started with this career path by providing the funds that help me get through this college. It's an expensive private institution, and so it costs more than most people are able to afford, but because of the Piston Foundation, I can continue to follow my dreams.
Willing and Able Racing offers top-quality spec race car rentals with full setup and repair services, including trackside support for SCCA, NASA, VRG, and other organizations' road race, time trials, and track day events. They're spec racer Ford specialists, and each of their Gen 3 machines sports a SATAV sequential transmission and a data acquisition system. Also offering spec Miata rentals, Willing and Able is currently taking reservations for the remainder of the Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series season. For more information, email Willing and Able at rent@WNARacing.com, see them on Instagram at WNA Racing, or visit their website at WNARacing.com. Willing and Able would like to thank all the volunteers this weekend who've graciously donated their time so that we may race.
Looking to level up your motorsport game? At Courage Motorsport, we've got everything you need, from high-performance parts and racing equipment to expert driving instruction and even our own Courage racing gear. Whether you're a beginner, a pro, or looking to kickstart your motorsport career with training in both the business of racing and securing sponsorships, we've got you covered. Check out our gear, grab a shirt, and represent your passion. Email us at trackready@couragemotorsport.com or visit couragemotorsport.com and get ready to hit the track.